Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday, January 31st. Welcome to episode 74 of the Old Mage MTG podcast. We're a little late this week, but we're here, and we've got some MTG topics to discuss. What are our MTG topics for today? Well, we're continuing our exploration of the Ice Age block with a discussion of alliances. Trust me, people, this one is better than Homelands. If you weren't around in that area, Homelands was terrible. Alliances was a step up. We've also got a brief finance discussion about some products, both old and new, and the Old Mage Commander Corner returns, where we continue to build our 2024 Commander deck. People are always making videos about their Commander decks, and everybody has like 20, 30 Commander decks built and
people
on rotation.
A lot of them, and
Alex and I have one. This year we're building number 2. So we're way behind. We're way behind on the
I don't even have one. I have a digital Commander deck.
Well, you could turn it into something similar, right?
Yeah. I picked mostly stuff that I either had or could afford or whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll see in the Commander Corner today, my Atog build. I'm currently building a deck that you told me to assemble it in paper tomorrow, I couldn't do it because I put all the dual lands into it. But if I needed to assemble in paper really quick, I would just exchange the dual lands with tap lands, whatever. Anyways, those are our topics. Before we get started, if you enjoy the podcast, please support us by 1, giving us a like, subscribing if you hadn't already. 2, if you're in the market for cardboard or cardboard accessories, please purchase them via our TCG player affiliate link. You can find that below in the episode description. If you already want the cardboard or cardboard accessories, that helps us for no added cost to you. Thank you, everybody, our loyal listeners. Before we start with the main topics today, we've got a couple follow-ups to the last episode. First follow-up. I wanted to talk about this really briefly, not Aether Storm. I wanted to talk about Daughter of Autumn. When we were going through the Homelands cards last week, talked about Autumn Willow, of course. We also came across a Daughter of Autumn. I was like, why does Daughter of Autumn obviously look much older than Autumn Willow if she is the Daughter of Autumn? Well, the truth is, this page is
I suggested it was metaphorical.
It is. I'm very literal. The truth is, the Daughter of Autumn is not actually the Daughter of Autumn Willow. The Daughter of Autumn is an avatar of Autumn Willow.
Well, I mean, so she's Autumn Willow herself, just in an older form, right?
In another form.
We just didn't expect that.
The tale of the Daughter of Autumn is a common one throughout the Homelands, and most people seem to dream of her from time to time. These stories speak of a beautiful woman appearing out of thin air and rescuing lost children from danger, as well as the occasional wandering woodsman getting led safely out of the great wood by a misty apparition. The origin of this helpful creature is linked to that of the Autumn Willow, who appears from time to time to help someone in need. Her daughter is merely her avatar who fights for the innocent and for nature. Should have read the MTG Wiki. When I have questions, MTG Wiki is a great resource.
Multiple daughters are known to exist at the same time.
Oh, I didn't see that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Where are the extra cards then? I want
a token generator.
Exactly. An Autumn Willow, a new Autumn Willow card that generates tokens that are all avatars of Autumn Willow, and they could generate like one new token each turn, and each token could actually be a different avatar with different stats. There we go.
Very sweet.
You're welcome, Mark Rosewater. You're welcome.
Thanks, Steve.
That was follow-up number 1. Now I got follow-up number 2, Alex. We talked about Baron Sengir last episode.
Yeah.
And, during our Baron Sengir discussion, I believe you actually said, one of us said, if only it was 6 mana and it's 6/6, it would have been sick. Like the problem with a lot of the cards in Homelands was they were just a little bit underpowered and a little bit too overcosted. And if they had just brought the casting cost down a little bit and the power level up a little bit for some of the cards, you would have some really sick cards that people might still be playing to this day, but they didn't. I was watching a YouTube channel. It was Nikachu's YouTube channel. I'm going to pull this up real quick. Nikachu did a review of Homelands on his channel. Not that
Sponsored by
long
Jeep.
ago. Sponsored by Jeep. We got to get that Jeep sponsorship money. We don't have GMC or Jeep
GMC.
sponsorship money. Until we get the GMC sponsorship, you can click the link below, purchase your cardboard and cardboard accessories using our affiliate link. Anyways, Nikachu MTG Live, he has multiple channels. He was rating Homelands, the worst set in Magic, going through the cards, discussing the cards with chat. I saw this comment at the top of this video. Fun fact. Fun fact is, originally Baron Sengir was exactly what we wanted it to be. Originally, Baron Sengir was a 6/6 with a better effect for 6 mana, but was deemed too powerful by playtesters. Their advice was to either raise the mana cost, or they were given advice to either raise the mana cost or to nerf the ability, but the design team did both. Since the set was already in delay, they didn't have time to play test the new version anymore and just printed it as is. Shame, because this card would have been good at 6 mana, except maybe for the lack of vampires in the set. Whatever, you could deal with that. Or in general, even. Come on. I was devastated when I read this. I was like, it could have been everything we wanted it to be, but it was not. That's just the way life works out sometimes.
What are the 2 replies under that post, under that comment say?
Well, it's funny you asked that, Alex. You didn't know because you don't log into YouTube under our Old Man Magic account. But this is me. Oh man, 13-year-old me would have been overjoyed if the Baron was 6/6 for 6. If only.
Nice.
So that's one of the comments. The other one, the Baron is also one of the only cards that references +2/+2 counters as opposed to 2+1/1 counters.
Yeah, that's true.
Says Paul Delafipio, 8490. Anyways, I thought this was an interesting comment. I'm trying to find more information about the development of Baron Sengir, how it evolved throughout development, playtesting of Homelands. There wasn't much playtesting of the card, or the cards are set.
I feel like especially back then, these playtesting periods were pretty short, like,
yeah,
few weeks or something.
But I think I saw a reference on, I think it was a deck that I found on MTG Goldfish. There's a guy who I follow on Twitter. I think his Twitter handle is @JasonVorthos. I've talked about his Twitter account before on this show. And he posts, it's one of the best Twitter feeds for like old school Magic. He's always posting really cool old decks, and he links to the deck list in an MTG Goldfish account where he puts up the decks on his MTG Goldfish account. And then below, he usually gives a brief description of the deck, a little primer, and then he links all sorts of old articles that were written about the deck, about the tournament, if it was a tournament deck, about some of the cards in the deck. So I think this is where I saw this. I believe I was looking at one of his decks that he posted, and I found a link to an old Duelist article. No, it wasn't a link. It was a name of an old Duelist article about Baron Sengir. So I think there's a Duelist article somewhere about the development of Baron Sengir. So I'm trying to find that. Maybe we'll learn more about how this whole playtesting and development process happened for this card. But I just wanted to say, this is exactly what we were saying in the last episode.
Yeah.
If only they had made it a 6/6 for 6 mana. And it was.
It didn't even need, it's with a better effect. It didn't even need a better effect. The effect was fine. What they needed maybe was 1 or 2 vampires in Homelands, but that's, whatever.
It's okay. It still could have been doable.
It would have been worth playing at that point,
Anyways, that's the end of our follow-ups.
It makes me want to play some sort of homebrew format where we're allowed to if we're playing like old border commander and we don't have a lot of commander options, we can each take a not very good commander and I don't know, spruce it up.
There are no rules. This is the joy. That's one of the great joys of kitchen table Magic, Alex. We're not confined by the rules that Wizards of the Coast sets for us. We can play whatever the hell we want. We can make any card our commander if it's not an actual legendary creature. Some people play commander formats like that where they take non-legend commanders.
Oh, okay.
They'll build a commander deck out.
Good
idea. We can take old frame commanders, old commanders from underpowered sets and spruce them up a little bit. That would be fun.
Chance to play some of those old legends like your freaking Bartle Runax or something, and
I'm already playing my freaking Jacques Levert. I'm not even sprucing him up. He's just doing what he does, giving everything +0/+2.
Just doing what he does.
Okay, that's the end of the follow-ups. Let's get on to the first official segment of episode 74 of the podcast. In that segment, we're going to talk about alliances. And I want to set this up by going back to the blog post that originally inspired us to revisit this block. It was a blog post that you sent to me a while back, Alex, on a blog called Killing the Goldfish. I always say that. It's not called Killing the Goldfish. It's called Killing a Goldfish.
Do you have a particular goldfish that you really want to kill, Steve?
I don't think
so.
so.
The neighbor's goldfish is loud.
I killed goldfish when I was younger, accidentally. It was very upsetting. Although now that I think back on it, I probably didn't do anything, actually. They're goldfish, so they don't live very long. You know, you go to the Canfield Fair, you play that game where you throw the ping pong balls in the goldfish bowls, and then they stick one in a bag and they bring it home.
Those goldfish, by the time you get them, they're probably, a little dodgy on the heart. They're out of oxygenated water and they've been shaken around in the sun all day by a child.
They've been through a lot. Yeah. It's very stressful. So those are the only goldfish that I killed. And, I don't necessarily know that I did anything to kill them. Except support a cruel
a goldfish trafficking carnival game.
Yeah. Which I wonder if those still exist. Do you think?
I don't know. Yeah, I feel like they've probably moved away from live animals, at least to some extent.
They should.
There's probably places that still do it for sure.
But I know they're just fish, but still.
Yeah, no, I agree. We shouldn't just be like torturing fish in bags.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be happening. Anyways, the blog is called Killing a Goldfish. And the author, he reminisced about the Ice Age block in this post. It was written in July 2014, July 21st. In the past few episodes, we talked about our initial impressions, memories, and current feelings about Ice Age and Homelands. Now it's time for us to move on to alliances. I keep wanting to say Homelands, but we're done with Homelands. We're on to alliances. What does the author have to say about Magic post-Homelands, but pre-alliances? So he kind of sets the stage here. He says, possibly the worst aspect of Homelands was the timing. After it was released, there were no new Magic cards for 8 months, no core sets, no expansion reprints, no new foreign language printings. To be honest, this sounds wonderful to me. Nothing.
Right at this moment, it does sound a little bit refreshing, but
I know.
Yeah, I don't remember that, that it being that time frame specifically, but I guess it does, make sense considering my memory was that I was buying Homelands packs for like a while and being continually disappointed. So
at the mall.
Yeah, maybe that's part of it. It's just that there was like nothing else. So I was like, oh God, I'll just go buy another pack of Homelands.
He continues, it was released in the fall of 1995, and fans had to wait until the next summer for alliances to relieve them of their pain, and it was a painful time for Alex and others. There was genuine fear that if alliances wasn't well received, Magic was dead. So what happened when alliances was released?
Wait, so I'm sorry, when did Chronicles come out? After alliances?
That's a hard one for me. Google it real quick, because I think Chronicles was in 1995 at some point in 1995.
That makes sense. That sounds right-ish to me. July 95.
Chronicles, July 95?
Yeah.
Okay. What happened when Alliances was released? Well, I was thinking about this. I had said earlier that, Fallen Empires, when that came out, that was disappointing. That was like Magic stumbling. And then last episode, or maybe the episode before, when we first started Homelands, I said that was Magic falling off a cliff. Just falling off a cliff, collapsing, falling off a cliff, smashing into the boulders and the rocks below. I think of alliances as Magic awakening from unconsciousness, battered, bruised, bloodied, but alive, Alex. It gave us hope. It gave us hope that we could actually crack a pack with something worth playing in it.
Yeah. I like that explanation more than this saying it Alliance ends the era with a monstrous explosion and mic drop. Like, I wouldn't really say that about alliances. There were a couple blockbuster cards in it, but I feel like
neither would I. And I will say, early episodes of this podcast, you have talked about your experience with, I think it was the first time you ever purchased an entire box of boosters. You split.
It wasn't. I bought revised booster boxes, one or two, okay. I think. Maybe one.
You split a whole box of Alliances boosters with our friend Bernard.
Yeah.
Our childhood friend Bernard.
It was very disappointing.
And 25 years later, you still talk about the experience. And what about the experience still bothers you?
Do you know this already? Because I'm not sure I even know what you're talking about. I remember getting like duplicates of several rares that weren't very good.
What type of rare, though?
Specifically, what card? What do you mean, what type?
A card type.
I don't know. I'm not sure where you're getting at.
I feel like you've often complained about the number of duplicate high casting cost artifacts that you pulled from the Alliance.
Okay, well, yeah, probably, yeah. Because I was going to say Phyrexian Devourer.
Okay.
And, which is better now, but it wasn't as good then. It's gone up
nobody
in price.
Did. Sorry, I got excited when you said Phyrexian Devourer, so I started talking over you. But nobody did anything with that card, I think, for like 20 years.
No, not until other cards came along, I think, to make it better. So like that and Phyrexian War Machine, which I can't remember if it was even a rare or an uncommon, but I had a bunch of those and they were crap. And then I'm not sure if Grape Shot Catapult was in that set. Is Grape Shot Catapult in Alliances?
I have some Grape Shot Catapult.
Okay, because I got like 4 of those out of my half box of Alliances and I was pissed.
Anyways, Alex is very upset still to this day about those artifacts that he pulled from those boosters. But overall, it was much better than Homelands. We had lower casting costs, higher power levels. We had some new and some interesting mechanics. They had cards that impacted both Type 1 and Type 2 play. They had playable cards, I would say, at every rarity level. And they even had a gosh darn 6/1 common with Shroud. This is the card that I really like. We're actually going to talk about it a little bit today. You look at some of the comments and the reviews of it. People don't like it as much as I do, but I really liked this card. A Garstone 6/1 common with Shroud. Imagine that being in Homelands. It would have been the best damn card in Homelands.
Yeah, I remember being excited when that came out. By the way, I was wrong about Grape Shot Catapult. That's not in Alliances. I'm not sure what I'm thinking of, though.
What's it in?
It was in Antiquities and then 4th, 5th, and 7th edition. So I'm thinking of a card that's very similar, but not the same name.
I really thought that there's an Alliances card with like a goblin
at
the forefront.
Probably, yeah. It's called something.
Okay.
I'll find it while you keep talking.
I'm gonna look for that. There's one other thing the author said in this in this article. I'm trying to find it.
We just figured out the Chronicles came out. He doesn't mention that because it's not new cards. But in that dry spell between Homelands and Alliances would have been Chronicles then. So even more disappointment, Fallen Empires, Homelands, Chronicles.
Oh yeah, we haven't really got into Chronicles here on this podcast, but I don't remember being particularly disappointed by Chronicles. Chronicles had some things that I'm still I still have the cards that I pulled out of some of those packs.
Yeah,
today.
There were things that we were glad they reprinted. It wasn't like it was awful, but it was like, people were mad about how
people were mad.
Messed up the value of certain cards.
People that were playing long enough to open Legends boosters were mad. A lot of them were. But I was happy to be able to play City of Brass and Mishra's Factory in particular.
And I think Urnam
and Whirling Dervish.
Maybe.
Oh yeah. I still have my Urnam Djinns that I pulled out of Chronicles packs. Some Bloodlusts, some Dervishes.
Bloodlust was one of the big ones.
Mishra's Factory, and City of Brass. And then there were even cool things like, I believe Killer Bees was reprinted.
I was gonna say Killer Bees, and was Strip Mine in Chronicles first, or was that not until like 5th edition?
I can't remember. We've gone back and forth about this, and actually, now that you say that, I might be wrong about Mishra's Factory too. I always forget if it was in 4th or Chronicles.
I don't think it was Chronicles. I think that came later in like,
Okay.
4th or 5th.
But the blog author says, while alliances still had no unifying identity, it made a few minor attempts to relate back to Ice Age with cumulative upkeep and snow-covered lands, neither of which were in the original design file. It was the best expansion to come out of the philosophy of print a bunch of cards people want to play with. That's why I wanted to read this. Print a bunch of cards people want to play with. It was much more playable in casual and competitive formats than Homelands was. I found an old article in the Duelist. And if you're interested, you can read more about the making of alliances in this article titled The Making of Alliances by Jeff J. Lynn, published in issue 13 of The Duelist. There are a few parts of this article that I wanted to note. So he says, right here on page 1, Alliances, the 8th and latest Magic expansion, marks the second expansion designed by the quartet known as the East Coast Playtesters, Scaff Elias, Jim Lynn, Chris Page, and Dave Petty. The foursome who also designed the successful Ice Age, for which Alliances is an expansion, were all friends of Garfield's as graduate students at the University of Pennsylvania. The group also helped playtest the early versions of Magic. Elias, Lynn, and Petty designed the Fallen Empires expansion and Design Antiquities, the second Magic expansion, with Mick and Page. The team designed most of Alliances in a 2-week span in June. So that was one thing that stuck out to me. I didn't realize the design process was ever that fast. Another thing that caught my attention from this article, I got to find this. Somewhere they say, here we go. All the cards would undergo rigorous playtesting. There, many of the cards' abilities and costs were tweaked to make sure their powers were in line with the rest of the cards in Magic. Later on, according to Elias, Alliances received more playtesting than any previous expansion, which allowed the designers to cost cards much closer to the edge. The cards are not too powerful, just on the brink of being too powerful. Because we had more playtesting time, we had more confidence in what we're doing, Elias says. If you don't have a lot of playtesting time, you have to cost cards conservatively. In last episode, we talked about how some of the cards in Homelands, Baron Sangir, for instance, would have got a lot more play if they just shaved a bit off their casting costs. I guess this is because they didn't do too much playtesting. Therefore,
that makes sense.
They costed the cards conservatively.
Yeah.
Anyways, I thought that was interesting because it really made me think about what probably really went wrong with Homelands. That's exactly what I would expect to see if this is how they usually did it. If they don't have enough time to play test, if their default was to cost conservatively, that's how we end up with Homelands, a set that they didn't spend much time play testing. And then you get a set with 8 casting cost cards that aren't even as powerful as many cards that were already printed in previous sets. It's kind of a bummer. Some basics about alliances. Let's go to some basics.
Hey, wait, by the way, here's an update. The card we were thinking of, couldn't find it because it's not a rare. It isn't uncommon. Whirling Catapult.
Yes, that has a goblin.
That
has a goblin, right, in the forefront?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Some of the basics about alliances is just information that you can get on MTG Wiki. Alliances is the 8th MTG expansion set and the 3rd set in the Ice Age block, kinda sorta. This is what the author says in Killing a Goldfish. MTG Wiki says the 2nd set. This is all because Cold Snap is officially recognized as the 3rd set in the Ice Age block. Back in the day, Cold Snap didn't exist. We thought of alliances as kind of the third in the block, even though this is before blocks existed.
Yeah, we weren't even like, thinking of it really like that, I don't think. Like, we knew that there was like a connection from Ice Age, you know what I mean? But Homelands didn't have much of it, like we've talked about, so it was hard to envision it as a block.
I kind of thought of it as a block because they were trying to get back to some of the mechanics and some of the setting in alliances in Ice Age with alliances. It's just Homelands was that weird oddity kind of like stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
It was released in June 1996. MTG Wiki tells me the set contains 144 cards, 55 commons, 43 uncommons, 46 rares. 144 cards is a lot of cardboard, Alex, and we ain't got time to talk about all of that, But over the next couple episodes, we're going to talk about a few that were exciting to us when the set was released, some that have stood the test of time and are still played today, and perhaps some that have become even better as the MTG card pool expanded. That's the kind of thing that gets me really excited when I see a card that we didn't think about back in the day much. And then over the past 20 some years, new things have been printed that makes it a lot more, that make those old cards more powerful. That's how you end up with something like fucking Lion's Eye Diamond selling for like $500 when we were throwing them away back in the day of Mirage. So let's start where we've been starting with our Ice Age block discussions with the commons. I'm going to start with the interesting commons to me and alliances. I'm going to start the commons discussion by showing you Arcane Denial. Arcane Denial is one colorless, one blue. It's an interrupt. Counter target spell. That spell's caster may draw up to 2 cards at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. Draw a card at the beginning of next turn's upkeep. So at this point in Magic's history, it was always great to see another counter spell option, to get another option to run.
Yeah.
In a blue counter heavy deck, especially one that had just one colored mana, because that made it much easier to splash in decks with just a little bit of blue. Sometimes it was hard to get those 2 blue counter spells in, and something like this really came in handy. There were reprints of this card in different commander sets. Has a rating of 3.858 on Gatherer. Market price of $4.36 currently. This is much more expensive than I thought it would be when I first started looking at the commons from alliances. I'm kind of surprised that a common counterspell from alliances got up this high in price. Especially considering it's been reprinted a lot.
Right. I think it's just because like you have the old border with the Ferguson art with the black border, Ferguson art, original printing. I don't know.
That is true. I don't know what the what does the art look like on some of these reprints. Commander 2013, Commander 2016, Commander Anthology 2013. That's kind of interesting, but it's not Richard Kane Ferguson. 2016, same. Commander Legends, got that Disney art vibe.
Yeah.
Commander Anthology, same as
like I remember looking at this before. We talked about this briefly when we talked about Arcane Denial before or something.
We've just talked about a lot of the same things. We've had 74 episodes and we've repeated the same topics roughly like six, 7 times already. We're old. This is the kind of discussion you get on the Old Mage MTG podcast. I don't remember what I talked about last week. I don't remember what I ate for lunch today, to be honest. But that's a pretty good common from Alliances, Arcane Denial.
Yeah,
with the axe.
I really want to make this card work in a way where I counter my own spell. Like I want to come up with some dumb combo where I'm doing something to cast spells for free and then Arcane Denial them to draw 3 cards.
If you want something in your graveyard and you don't want to pair it with a card that like causes you to discard, could you just cast your own spell and then Arcane Denial?
Yeah.
To get it in your graveyard? Okay. I guess you could do that.
Problem is just cost so many cards now at this point, like,
I know.
throwing a lot of stuff in the graveyard.
You could run it with Underworld Dreams. They draw 2 cards, yeah, but they also take 2 damage. Now, doing 2 damage is not, I mean, getting 2 cards is much better than taking 2 damage, but what you can do. If you want to pair it with something. Black Vice, Underworld Dreams.
Yeah.
Black Blue.
Definitely for black. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to be playing like a, counters in your Vice deck or Underworld Dreams deck, yeah, why not play this?
Very old school. I don't know if people do better things with Arcane Denial these days. Next common. I'm going to type this buddy in. Soldevi. Adenate. That's how I'm going to pronounce that. Soldevi Adenate.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but sure.
I forgot to look up. I forgot to look in the
how else could you
dictionary.
pronounce it?
What is an adenate? Forgot to look that up. So Devi Adenate is 1 colorless, 1 black. It's a 1/2 summon cleric. You can tap it and sacrifice a black or artifact creature to add an amount of black equal to that creature's casting cost to your mana pool. Play this ability as an interrupt. I forgot about this card and I've never played it, but it's really not bad. It's repeatable ramp, and especially in black where you have things like token generators or plenty of cards that will go to the graveyard and come back to you in some way.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe a card with like an upkeep or something that you want to get rid of eventually.
Yeah, I wonder if there are definitely black creatures with upkeeps that you don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
You
Demonic
sack them.
Hordes.
Yeah.
Put this in my Demonic Hordes deck.
You could. It also has 2 toughness, which I like, so it survives a lot of mass removal. It trades favorably with other small casting cards creatures, mostly 1/1s.
Yeah, that's not bad. I like this. I would definitely. I've wanted to try to use this and never have for some reason. I don't know.
Only printed in alliances. I saw that. They've never reprinted it. Rating of 4.062 on Gather, current market price of 49 cents. Not bad at all, man.
I wonder anything with Soldevi in the name has been printed like outside of alliances,
That's a good question. Not sure.
Not that they couldn't just print it as a different named card, but just wondering about that.
The only thing I can think of is Soldevi Digger, and I believe that's
alliances.
Yeah, I know. But I was gonna say, is that reserve list? I feel like the Digger might be reserve list, but I don't know for sure.
I think it is.
Are you looking it up?
No.
Okay. Next common. Agent of Stromgald. I think this is a pretty nice little card.
Yeah.
It's 1 red, 1/1, summon Knight. Put it in your Knight deck. And it's very simple. Pay 1 red to add 1 black to your mana pool. Play this ability as an interrupt. There's not a lot to say here, but it's just a solid 1-drop with mana fixing ability. It's very fair. I like cards like this. Just little 1/1s that do something a little bit special. Add a little bit of flavor to your deck.
Yeah. I have that deck I was just messing around with. It's more red than black. So I like something like this for that. Because, you're going to be getting red mana out early, and then maybe you want black mana for, the later game cards that you have in there.
Yeah. Also, there's you said more red than black. Is that what you said?
Yeah, like, this would go well in a deck where you're more likely to have red mana down early, obviously.
Yeah. And there's a lot of really good black cards that often are like black is a color, I feel like, similar to red. Maybe this is true for every color now that I think about it. In my mind, I don't know if this is true or not, but black casting costs, you tend to more often see things that are like 3 black, 3 colored mana. Is it true? I might be making that up.
No, I think you might be right. I think black might have more cards that have multiple black in the casting cost.
So mana fixing might be even a little bit better if you're trying to run it in a black deck.
I feel like maybe green's like that too.
That's what I was thinking too. As soon as I started saying this, but I thought to myself in my head, maybe blue's also like that. And then I was like, maybe I shouldn't even say this. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. It's possible. But I like Agent of Stromgald. It's just cute little fair 1-drop.
Yeah.
Cool special ability.
Would be cool for like, a draft scenario where you maybe don't have like, all the like lands you want, all the mana base you want.
This is where stuff like that really shines. Like, yeah, you're drafting, like you don't take it first necessarily, but this is a good little utility card that can help you build a stronger draft deck. I say it as somebody who never drafts, and I'm terrible
Right.
at
Yeah.
it. So
of course.
take that with a grain of salt. Next common.
Famous.
I swear to God, MTG Stocks has this on the list of commons when you sort by commons, but it says here it's U3, but that means there's 3 of them on the U sheet. So sometimes these get mixed up with
It's
commons.
probably
So
considered a common. Yeah.
I'm calling it a common. This is a legend. It's the Mox Monkey. It's not a legend. It's a legendary card in my mind. It's the Mox Monkey. It's Gorilla Shaman. This is, I mean, let's talk about a 1-drop 1/1 with an ability. This is much better than a cute little mana fixing ability like the one we saw before. It's 1 red, 1/1, summon Gorilla. Pay X colorless, 1 colorless, destroy target non-creature artifact with casting costs equal to X. This was for blasting Moxes. I've never actually had the pleasure of blasting a Mox off the board with a Mox Monkey because none of my buddies ever really had many Moxes. You had some Moxes back in the day, Alex, but I don't know if you ever had more than one at a time.
I think I had 2 at a time.
That's
but
probably the
yeah, I
most.
definitely had 2 at a time, but just not for a super long period.
I don't know if anybody else ever had Moxes other than Chris. Chris had Moxes, but I don't think he ever played them. I think he got a set of Moxes at some point in a trade for a first appearance of the Green Lantern.
Oh yeah, I
Remember he
remember that.
traded
Yeah,
a comic.
rid of old comic books, yeah, and he bought a Lotus and Moxes and mana drains and
I don't know if he ever played. I don't know if he ever played the Moxes against me or not. But, I've never had the pleasure, never had the joy of blasting a Mox off the board with a 50-cent card. They're not
also
killing
a
lots
decent Soul Ring destroyer. I mean,
yes, true. Yeah.
for 3 mana, you get rid of a Soul Ring, which back then everyone had.
And today too, everybody still has them. It's one of the reasons why people say you shouldn't play them in Commander because everybody has them. Who cares? They're not killing lots of Moxes these days, I'm guessing. But one of the old school formats is Alpha 2 Alliances. And if I ever find a group of people that plays Alpha 2 Alliances, I will definitely be running Mox Monkeys and Blood Moons because I don't have any Moxes. I don't have dual lands. So you just bring a red deck and you just destroy all the expensive cards that you can. It also blasts Black Vices. There's another. I was trying to think some other things. Black Vices, Ivory Towers. Also, these things get played in old school. What was the one you mentioned? Soul Ring. That gets played in old school. Not suitable for Icy Manipulators, Suchis, Juggernauts. No good. All that other stuff, though, it's good. Library of Langs. Thrones of Bones. Iron Star. Is that the red one?
Yeah.
Ivory Cups. What's the green one?
Wooden chalice.
Isn't it wooden sphere?
Yeah,
wooden sphere.
I have no idea. Can't remember. Yeah, wooden sphere sounds right.
Gorilla Shaman. So that's Gorilla Shaman. Also printed in a Cold Snap theme deck and in Modern Horizons 2. Rating of 4.438 on Gatherer because it's great. Current market price 38 cents. 2018, people tried to spike the Gorilla Shaman. Look at this. Boom. $3.
What's that about?
I don't know. That's weird. Did it start coming? Was Modern Horizons 2 then printed in 2018? Did a Gorilla Shaman buyout begin? And then WOTC was like, oh, hell no. We're reprinting this card right now.
Maybe.
Modern Horizons 2 says 2021. So yeah, it just spiked and then fell down on its own. That is weird. Maybe we can spike this up again, Alex.
I wonder if a good 0 casting cost artifact came out right around then.
I don't know.
Or
It is
1
kind of weird.
casting cost, you know.
2018 was also a year in general of buyouts. So I don't know if it was specific, if there was some specific event that led to people purchasing Gorilla Shaman, or if this was one of the cards they were looking at and they were like, oh, they haven't printed this card for 20 some years and we can buy it for 15 cents right now. So let's buy 5,000 copies. Who knows? You know, when I look at price charts, there's often, you know, you see the 2021 price spikes. There's often 2018 price spikes for a lot of stuff too. It seemed to be a year of buyouts in MTG. But that's the Gorilla Shaman. And then I got a couple more comments to talk about. The next one. Probably this is my favorite common in Ice Age. I like this art, the red robe art, but this one's my favorite art. I don't know what to call it.
Yeah, they're both good.
The stylized, well, they call it bird. Deadly insect bird, because there's a bird in it. It's a common so nice, it makes me want to play green in every deck where I play alliances. It's 4 colorless, 1 green, 6/1, summon insect. Cannot be the target of spells or effects. So this is when Shroud was a lot less common.
Oh
I
yeah.
almost said the opposite of what I wanted to say, a lot less common. I also really love the flavor of this card. Like the fact that it's 6/1, it's perfect for this dainty little insect that can be killed by a strong gust of wind, but can also transmit malaria or dengue fever and take your whole army out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Also printed in a Cold Snap theme deck, a beatdown box, and in Mercadian Masks. It has a rating of 3.100 on Gatherer. I think that's shockingly low. That's terrible, people. It gets no respect.
I remember trying to play it when it came out, and I remember some other people experimenting with it too. I was pretty excited about the Shroud thing. I'm not sure. I think I just ended up being underwhelmed. I thought it would be better than it was, but I mean, this was obviously just a little bit of play a long time ago. I think the problem with it is that anything can kill it if it blocks it.
That is the problem with it. Yeah. You have to, and you don't always have a way to clear the path for it if you're playing green.
Yeah. So you either need to
Heavy
be
green.
playing it with some kind of wipe, like from a different color or something, or with giant growth. We can't giant growth it, okay, or use it defensively. I mean, maybe it's a better blocker than an attacker.
It's a paper tiger. You know, it's very vulnerable. Even though it has Shroud, it's very vulnerable, which is kind of funny to think about. But
yeah. But if they're playing a deck with not too many creatures and their creatures are valuable, then this
then
becomes
it's awesome. Yeah,
you know,
it's awesome.
as long as they don't have like weenies that can block it. Now, I mean, contrast to Yavimaya Ants, I might like Yavimaya Ants more.
I didn't talk about the ants yet. I can't remember if the ants are common and I just overlooked them, or if they're
it's
an
uncommon.
Oh, two. Okay, so let's talk about it now. Yavimaya ants, 2 colors, 2 green, 5/1 trample with a cumulative upkeep of 2 green. Yavimaya ants can't attack the turn it comes into play on your side. So this is more reliable for getting some amount of damage through.
Yeah. Yeah.
And probably does see more play because of that.
And you can giant growth it. It has the trample. You know, it's just not going to stick around for very long because of the upkeep.
I think where the deadly insect shines is in let's say a heavy control deck where everything's just getting swords to plowshared or bolted. And also your opponent doesn't have a moat. So you can get through. But yeah, it survives the STP. It survives the lightning bolt. The ant's more reliable dealer of damage.
Yeah, more aggressive, has the haste, but yeah, definitely can't survive as well.
Next common that I wanted to talk about from Alliances was Guerrilla Tactics.
Love it.
There's this art. I'm going to pull up the other art because I like the other art a little bit better. Alliances, we see a lot of art variants here. A lot of the cards had two different art
Yeah.
treatments.
Mm-hmm.
This is Guerrilla Tactics Kneeling Knight. One colorless, one red. Instant. Guerrilla Tactics deals 2 damage to target creature or player. That's pretty cool. Targets the player or the creature. If a spell or effect controlled by an opponent causes you to discard Guerrilla Tactics from your hand, you reveal Guerrilla Tactics. You go, haha. Yeah.
Haha.
To
Yahtzee.
all players, and it deals 4 damage to target creature or player. You show it to everybody. You're like, which one of y'all's is going to take 4 to the face?
Who's gonna get it?
A strong sideboard option in any meta where Hymnothorax and Hypnotic Specters are lurking around every corner, which was the case.
They were. Yeah, this one, I immediately threw this in sideboard for my red deck.
Also printed in Garfield versus Finkel. 8th, 9th, and 10th editions. Rating of 3.848 on Gatherer. Market price of 14 cents. I need to get myself some Guerrilla Tactics.
Yeah. I think there's even better stuff now. You know, there's better options for this, but
I play old cards on. I don't play that.
I like this. I mean, this is when this came out, this was so awesome.
Are there better cards though in a format where you're just playing Ice Age block?
There might still be. I'm sort of thinking maybe from like Urza's sets or something. There might be something that
Ice Age block.
Oh, Ice Age block. Oh no.
There we go.
But yeah, I was stoked about this card when it came out.
It's quite good. Next common. This is a common that I didn't think about. I forgot about this one. I don't know that I ever played with it.
I forgot about this too.
I was looking at, and we're going to talk more about this in the next episode, limited formats where you're limited to Ice Age and Alliances cards. This shows up in quite a few decks that I was looking at. In the meta, it's actually quite good. So this is Storm Shaman. There's 2 arts. There's a female and a male. 2 colorless, 1 red. 0/4 summon cleric, but then it has fire breathing. So you can pay 1 red to give it +1, +0 until end of turn. I said solid in draft or limited formats like Ice Age Alliances. 0/4 is quite a good blocker in most cases.
For 3 mana?
And it's got fire breathing. So nothing amazing about it, but it's a solid common. Like, you get it on the board, it's going to help you block most things you're going to have to deal with. And then if you open up your path for an attack, you could do a lot of damage with this person. Yes, it's going to take a lot of mana,
and it's a constant threat as long as like
constant threat
mana. So they're always wondering if it's going to attack. I don't hate this at all. I didn't remember this card.
Neither
but
did I.
Looking at it now, I kind of like it.
Yeah, it's not bad at all, Alex. And the best thing about it is you can pick it up for a current market price of 23 cents right now. And it was also printed in Garfield versus Finkel and in 7th edition. Has a rating.
This might not be bad in my Varchild's War Riders deck.
Maybe not. Rating of 3.095 on Gather. I thought of something the other day that would be really good in your Varchild's War Riders deck. And then I forgot what it
Got it on purpose, Steve.
I forgot. But we might be talking about it. Like, I might have seen it because I wrote it into a show note, like either later in this episode or next episode. So we might come across it again. I think it was something that I saw in an Alice deck and Alliance's Ice Age format deck.
Oh,
We're going to be talking about some of those in an upcoming episode. Yeah. So it'll come back to me at some point.
I believe.
But I remember seeing that. I'm like, oh, Varchild's War Riders. Other commons, not Stormcrow. I'm not going to talk about Stormcrow. People say Stormcrow's the best.
Thank you.
But if we're not going to talk about Stormcrow, that's the end of my Alliance's commons list. Do you have any commons you wanted to add? Did you think of anything?
I don't think so. I don't think so, no.
Okay. That was it. There's no like mind-blowing common in Alliances, but there's like a solid stable of nice little playables here, I think.
Yeah, there's some things. There's some bad ones, but there's some you know, there's some stuff you can work with.
Mana
Oh, you know what? There
fixers.
was one card
Okay.
I wanted to talk about.
A common? Let me pull up the
Yeah,
list of
it's a
commons.
common. It's a black card
Okay.
that I've been trying to mess with a little bit recently. Not gonna be able to find it now. It's towards the top.
In price or casting of
Casting
bones?
of Bones is the card I want to talk about. Different
It
art
is.
than that one. It looks like a gorilla with a bone thing on his finger.
You know, we talked about this card before too, because I remember having a discussion about this art.
Really?
Yeah, I think.
Is
I
it
don't
a
know if it was
gorilla or a guy with a black glove?
I don't know
There's
if it was
gorillas in
on the show
alliances.
or off the show, and that might have been the discussion. It has to be a gorilla. There's a whole gorilla theme here in alliances. And alliances was when I first started building an ape deck that I never really brought anywhere to play, but I have memories of sitting in front of my television in my living room, brewing my ape deck and playing it against myself.
I didn't know
And
you were working on an ape deck that hard.
we had this conversation too in an early episode, and you were like, I didn't know you were working on an ape deck. And I was like, I know, I never revealed it, but Mox Monkeys, uh, Kurt Apes,
Oh yeah, now I remember
then
because we talked about Kurt Apes.
then you had Gorilla Berserker and Gorilla Chieftain. They were introduced in alliances. So you had like the 1-drop. Now you had like a 4-drop and a 5-drop. You had Gargantuan Gorilla, the more drop. You had the 3. No, Gorilla Shaman's a 1-drop still. I don't know if you had a 3-drop.
Look, top
Maybe
your
that's why
orangutan. You can count that.
so that's, yeah, it got even better. So that was, maybe that's when I really started messing. I think I came back to the Gorilla deck multiple times in my life. But yeah, I do remember revisiting it too when the orangutan came around. Orangutan.
Orangutan, yeah.
Back to casting of bones.
Yeah. Go to the other art. I like the other art.
Okay. I don't know what the other art is. Can't remember.
It's not amazing or anything, but it's like a little Orko guy. Remember Orko from He-Man? Little hooded guy.
I didn't remember his name, but when you said Orko guy, this is what I was imagining.
So yeah, this is 1 black, 2 colorless, enchant creature. If enchanted creature is put into the graveyard, draw 3 cards, choose and discard one of those cards. So I like this because, for black 2, you draw 2, and you get to fill your graveyard with something in a color where you want to do that a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
A little clunky maybe, but like if you're playing it with stuff that can sacrifice at instant speed, you don't have to worry about them, killing your creature and you losing the enchantment or disenchanting it or anything like that. It's pretty much foolproof once you get it down. Yeah, I don't know. And I've been like, I look at Phyrexian Arena a lot as like a card draw option.
Uh-huh.
And I'm thinking about, this is same overall casting cost, but a little bit easier to cast. Doesn't deal damage to you. You get some of the cards up front, and then with a Phyrexian Arena, it's like, how long is it going to stick around before they remove it or it becomes a target?
We've talked about that before, and I can't remember exactly what my thoughts were on it, but I heard somebody talk about Phyrexian Arena and say, is it really this good? Like, this is how much mana you have to pay for it, and this is how many turns it has to stick around in order to be better than something else I'm not thinking of right now. And then how often does that even happen in a game?
Yeah. And I think I still like it. I mean, enchantments are still kind of hard to get rid of. Because people, not that there aren't options, but people don't always put a lot of those options in their optimized deck.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this, but I like it. I guess I know how I feel about it. I like it, but I haven't tested it out enough to know if it's worth putting in a deck versus something else.
Yeah. You're brewing. You're still brewing with it.
Yeah. Gatherer rating is 3.4.
Okay. Better than Deadly Insect.
Yeah.
Better than Storm Shaman. Don't know if I agree with either one of those, but whatever. People have their preferences.
I like that Storm Shaman. I'm gonna try messing around with that, I think.
Yeah, not bad at all. We'll see if this I bet Casting of Bones will show up in some of the Alice decks that I look at over the next few days. I bet it's in there. Be interested
Awesome
in
with
seeing
sushi.
what people do with it.
You know,
With Suchi, is that what you said?
yeah.
Not playable in Alice, Ice Age Alliances, but is playable in Alpha to
Oh, Alpha.
Alliances.
That's what I was. You said I was
Yeah.
just thinking Alpha to alliances.
We should talk about Alpha to Alliances sets too, because or decks. I think that's a pretty cool format. I think Alpha to Alliances might be more of a fun old school format for me personally to play as somebody who doesn't have any power.
It will be very familiar to us. You know what I mean? That's kind of like more or less what we played for most of our, you know.
Yeah, unpowered Alpha to Alliances.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
I wonder if they included alliances because it's the end of the block, or because they felt a need to get like Force of Will and or one or two other cards into the format.
I don't know. Uh, I do want to learn more about. There are multiple old school formats, and at some point in this show, right now we're talking about a lot of the pre-modern sets, old frame sets that are actually like post old school. You know, they're not considered true old school, which is often like 93, 94.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about a little bit 94, but you know, now we're in 95. We're going to be moving up through the years, 96, 97, continue counting up. But we haven't spent a lot of time on like discussing like real old school decks. We've talked about type 2 decks from the early expansion sets, but not like the Arabian Nights decks that are built around Arabian Nights, Legends, Antiquities, and Power.
Right.
We haven't talked about that stuff. And that's a lot of the old school. But there are different formats in old school that the old school people play. That's what I'm trying to get at. With Alpha 2 Alliances being one of them. And, you know, a lot of the rationale behind their decisions when they're trying to spice up the old school formats, you know, come up with new formats to breathe some new life into the old school world, essentially, because people get tired of just playing the deck all the time. They come up with these different ideas for what sets to include, what new cards to add, what cards to remove. And, you know, there's often, you can find things out there, people have come up with the new formats describing the rationale. And I'm sure there's some reasons laid out for why they decided to go Alpha to Alliances and stop at Alliances specifically.
Right. Yeah.
But we got to get into that at some point, learn more about that. There's also some people pushing old frame magic, Alpha to Scourge. I really like that too. I think that really shakes things up and actually gives a lot more opportunity for people who don't have power to play in a high power old frame format, because you can still like you can pick up and brew decks around old frame cards from like Urza's to Scourge.
Yeah.
That can compete probably pretty well
Power
with
busters.
the powered decks.
Yeah, you have some sorry, you have some cheap options that are powerful in those later sets. The only problem is that then you run into the, you know, the people that have the power and they have the cards from those like Urza sets and stuff. So that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that
So as
does
long as
happen.
you can, you know, I mean, you have to do this with Magic. You just have, you know, when thousands of dollar cards exist, you have to work this kind of stuff out and figure out the play level with the people you're playing with, you know. But I don't hate that. I don't hate the old cards and the, like, I think it would be really fun to brew with, you know, cards from Legends and Antiquities with, you know, cards from the later old frame sets.
I could definitely get into that pretty hardcore.
Especially because some of the later old frame set cards that I've learned about or found, I immediately think back to like a Legends card or something. Like, oh, this would work good with this old card that we used to play, you know.
Anyways, those will be future discussions on the Old Mage MTG podcast. We're gonna be doing this for like 25 years, Alex. We got a lot of episodes to get through still, a lot of topics to cover. But for now, we're going back to alliances, and we're going to move to the uncommons. The first uncommon from Alliances that I was excited about that I want to talk about 25 years later is Pillage. Are you a red mage? Do you love running Stone Rain and Shatter? Then Pillage is for you, Alex. One red. No, I screwed that up. One colorless, two red. Pillage is a sorcery with Richard Kane Ferguson art. Bury target artifact or land. And
It
it
sounded
has
like a commercial from Fallout or BioShock or something.
I was doing really good until I screwed up the casting cost. Flavor text. Were they to reduce us to ash, we would clog their throats and sting their eyes in payment. I want to get this tatted on my forearm. Fuck yeah. Lovisa Cold Eyes, Balduvian Chieftain, said that if Lovisa Cold Eyes is not a magic card already,
yeah,
it should be.
Yeah, I always wondered, she's in like so many of these quotes and flavor texts in this set that I'm like, who is she? Like, is there a card?
Oh, look at this.
Is there? I knew they had to do it eventually.
Cold Snap. We'll get to this.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
Let's talk about it now. We're going to talk about Cold Snap in the not too distant future. That's why we started this.
Good. I like this card, Steve. This is sweet.
That's why we started this whole discussion of the Ice Age block. We were like, oh, we can use this to bridge into our first ever discussion of a modern framed set.
Right.
Let's get a little preview here with Lovisa Cold Eyes. A legend. 3 colorless, 2 red, 3/3. So this could be your commander because it's a legendary creature. Barbarians, warriors, and berserkers get +2/+2 and have haste. That's pretty cool.
It is.
Yeah. I led my horde to the northwest. I won't return until the ice wizards fall and their fiendish contraptions are crushed.
Those goddamn ice wizards.
Yeah.
Killing polar bears with their orbs all the time.
Not bad at all. There's a lot of barbarians. I've seen plenty of barbarians. I wonder, and a lot of warriors, I think. I wonder how many berserkers there are.
Yeah, berserkers probably thin on the ground.
If you berserk a creature, it should become a berserker.
Oh, I agree. There should be no question of that at all.
Do you hear that, Mark Rosewater? Somebody needs to get into the. Somebody needs to oracle.
Change the errata on berserk. Yeah. Target creature's type is berserker.
If berserked.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's Pillage. This is a really good card.
Not the card we were talking about at all.
Removal, it's more mana than a Shatter. Same mana as a Stone Rain. Well, same mana cost, but 2 red instead of 1. Yeah. But it gives you that optionality, and I love optionality.
It's so fairly priced. Like it, I mean, I know different cards cost different amounts if they're color shifted to outside of their, normal color pie roll. But in green 1 for a land destruction is perfectly fine. And you're adding the ability to kill an artifact too. So I love this. It just takes up, you have less removal slots in your deck.
I definitely played this guy back in the day. Yeah. Also printed in Garfield versus Finkel, some World Championship decks, Modern Horizons, Masters 25, 6th and 7th edition. So it's gotten lots of reprints. 4.216 on Gatherer, market price of 48 cents.
Art's cool too.
The art's cool too. Next uncommon is Elvish Spirit Guide. So Elvish Spirit Guide
part of lots of tournament decks.
Yeah. 2 colorless, 1 green. Summon Spirit. Maybe also summon Elf. I don't know what it says now on an Oracle. It's probably Elven Spirit. 2/2. If Elvish Spirit Guide is in your hand, you may remove it from the game to add 1 green to your mana pool.
Elf Spirit.
Elf Spirit. There we go. That's exactly what it should be. Play this ability as an interrupt. So this card, not only did it provide added ramp to green decks, which green already had a lot of ramp, but this added even more ramp to green decks. It added speed. I think this is where it's most important. added speed to non-green, already fast combo decks, because you don't even need to pay green mana to cast it. You can just pitch it to generate a green mana and use that just to pay a colorless casting cost to ramp out anything that requires one colorless for its casting cost even faster than you could have ramped it out prior to Elvish Spirit Guide existing. So it just facilitates like super fast combo kills. I don't think there was anything like this. There was nothing like this before Elvish Spirit Guide showed up on the scene.
No, not that I can remember.
It was pre-Lotus Petal. This is almost, not exactly, but almost like a card that's either a Lotus Petal or a 2/2 creature, whatever you choose. Your choice, almost.
Why do you say almost? Isn't that exactly what it is?
Well, Lotus Petal can give you any colored mana. So like if you needed to cast something that's like 2 blue off the bat.
Yes. Right.
You couldn't do it with this.
I was focusing on the creature part of the thing you were saying and not the mana part.
So almost.
Almost. I like the new art in the Dominaria remastered one too. It's a pretty cool looking card.
That's probably related to the next thing I was going to say. Another thing about Elvish Spirit Guide is you can get this cheaper than it's been in over a decade.
Wow.
So it got up to over $15. I think I bought one for somewhere around $8 to $10 as it was on its way down. And then Dominaria Remastered was printed, and this was reprinted in Dominaria Remastered, and this has just come down, down, down. You can get it for 2 something, which is, you know, cheaper than you can buy it all the way back in 2014, 2015, 2013.
Yeah.
It's probably because Dominaria Remastered, it was, you know, that I think that was a really high print run, and a lot of people opened a lot of Dominaria Remastered packs, it seems like. But also, it's pretty good art, so probably a lot of people were like, hey, I like this art. It's $7 cheaper than the original. I'll buy this. Now it's only $1 cheaper than the original, so I'm going to go for the original because that's what I like to do. But yeah, you can get the originals for like 2 something now, probably on TCG Player. You could probably pick up lots of light play for 2. Usually the case, if it says 273 or on MTG stocks, you can get them even cheaper if you look a little bit.
Yeah, I remember like a year or 2 ago, I went like digging through my boxes looking for these because I was like, holy crap, it's worth that much? And I recognized the art, so I was positive I had them, but I don't think I ended up having any. I don't know why.
Well, it ain't worth that much anymore, but now you can afford them.
Yes, but now I can afford them, so it all works out in the end.
There's also this really cool Secretlair printing.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And actually, I bought some of these.
Oh, did you?
Because I love this illustrator. The illustrator they got for Elvish Spirit Guide. I had seen some other stuff that she had done. And let me pull this up on Scryfall. Actually, Scryfall usually has well, not usually, always. You can see the art. You can see the art better. It's higher resolution images. As I struggle to spell spirit. What did I just do? Elvish Spirit Guide. To the listeners, anybody listening just on audio, I'm typing here. I'm typing. Yuko Shimizu. I really like her art. I don't remember even where I first saw her art, but I saw it on a lot of non-magic things, and I started following her on Instagram years ago. She's an illustrator and an art teacher. I can't remember where.
Oh.
But this is it. I was really excited when I saw that they.
Okay, so you already knew about her and then found out when they.
Yeah.
When she did a magic card.
I was really excited when I saw that they brought her in for the secret layers, because there's a lot of different secret layers. Some are cool, some are kind of weird, and I wonder what they're doing. This is like this is my favorite type of secret layer, or my favorite reason for secret layers to exist, where they bring well-known and really talented artists in to do completely novel treatments of cards. That's what I like the secret layer for. I like it for presenting new and really great art to the Magic community. Anyways, I love this one. Elvish Spirit Guide. Okay, back to the uncommons. We talked about this one very briefly, this next one, in a previous episode, because it had a moment not that long ago where its price was shooting up. Because I think some big YouTuber like put it into a deck and everybody was like, wow, this is amazing. So everybody decided they needed to buy Nature's Chosens. So they all went and bought them all in like a 2-week period. And it spiked up from like $1.50 to like $8. But then there are so many copies out there that they just started getting reposted on TCG Player, and then the price came down. It is Nature's Chosen, if I didn't say that already. It is 1 green. It's an enchant creature. There's a lot of text here. It's an enchant creature that you can only play on a creature you control.
Okay.
And you can pay 0 colorless, untap enchanted creature. Use this ability only during your turn and only once each turn. Or pay 0 colorless, tap enchanted creature to untap target artifact, creature, or land. Use this ability only if enchanted creature is white and only once each turn. So, like I said a moment ago, it had a brief price spike. If you thought you missed out, you can definitely still pick them up cheap. $229 market price right now. It doubles up your manimal uses, right? So that's pretty good. You can double up your manimals.
I like it. It's a great card. Man.
Yeah.
It's an awesome card.
And if you have white creatures to enchant, there's probably like a ton of amazing lands that you can pair this up with. Like just off the top of my head, I'm thinking if you enchant a white creature and you use this to untap the target land, Gaia's Cradle. I didn't write that one down for some reason. I was like Rishadon Port, which is awesome, but still Gaia's Cradle. Yeah. If you're playing Alpha 2 Alliances, Library of Alexandria, there's so many great lands in Magic the Gathering, but that's my point. If you play this in the right deck, this can be amazing.
Right.
I was thinking,
it's just like a slightly different white leaning version of Instill Energy, and I like Instill Energy.
There was a lot of discussion about Instill Energy in the Gatherer comments for this card, and some people, people are comparing it to Instill Energy, and they're saying, oh, it's not as good as or some people are saying it's way better than Instill Energy, but it's conditional, and that's true. Yeah, you have to have it in the right deck to make it much better than
Instill Energy gives them haste, not technically, but functionally. So it has that going for it, but this has the white creature effect synergy. So, I mean, this is better in a deck with white creatures, and Instill Energy is better in a deck where you maybe want to use the creature's ability or attack with it the first turn that you get it down.
I was thinking, I don't have it in there yet, but I'm thinking about maybe putting this in my Atog commander deck. Because as you can imagine, my Atog commander deck is an Atog deck. It's going to have all the Atogs in it. And then what do you need in an Atog deck? You need food for the Atogs, right? And what do Atogs eat? Well, Atog eats Atogs, but all the other Atogs, they eat artifacts, lands, and enchantments. So I'm trying to think about like what kind of artifacts and enchantments I might want to fill my deck with to provide food to the Atogs. And this is an interesting one because if I put it on an Atog that has white in its casting cost or any white creature, I can maybe use this to untap other creatures that I might put in that deck that can bring like artifacts back from the graveyard when I tap them.
Right.
And if that's the case, I can get multiple uses out.
Or if you have a utility artifact that is important for you to, tap to do something.
Yeah. Yeah. So something I'm thinking about. There's a lot of cool synergies that can happen with Nature's Chosen in the right decks.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely has more potential than Instill Energy. You can do a lot more interesting things with it if you build around it.
Never reprint it. This is it.
Huh.
Rebecca Guay art, rating of 3.846 on Gatherer, market price $2.29. Next uncommon, Alex. Shield Sphere.
Yes, I love it.
I have faced the Shield Sphere recently. Wasn't that long ago that you Shield Sphered me? I have put Shield Sphere in a deck that I have built that you have not yet faced, but you will be Shield Sphered in the not too distant future.
Oh,
Shield Sphere is 0 casting cost artifact creature. It is 0/6. It counts as a wall. If Shield Sphere is assigned as a blocker, you put a -0, -1 counter on it. It is a staple in Fruity Pebbles, the deck that we first learned about just a couple episodes ago. Alex, you loved Fruity Pebbles. It is an awesome early game blocker. It has never been reprinted. It has a rating of 4.163 on Gatherer. Market price of $5.35. I did not expect it to be that expensive, but here we are.
yeah, that's like what it was a year or two ago. I feel like it hasn't changed.
No. People realized that they loved the Shield Sphere in like 2019.
Yep.
And when everybody was afraid they were going to die in 2020 and everything sold off, it got a little bit cheaper, but then it just returned to its $5 price tag and it's just remained there. Right? If this trend continues, this card will be $5 still in 2072. But that will be after roughly 50 years of inflation. So the $5 then will be more like $1.75. Anyways, I don't really have much to say about Shield Sphere. I just like it. It's just a great blocker. It's a great early game blocker. I'm boring. That's what I would do with it. I would block with it.
See, I like it as fodder. Like it's 0 casting cost, so you can like bring it out and then sack it for something.
Here's the truth. I would use it. It is in a deck right now that involves sacrifice.
You're like, I lied.
Yeah, I lied. I was trying to trick you. But it comes out in decks where I need some time to build up.
Oh, great. Yeah.
To my sacrificial activity.
It can stall a turn or two, and then you can sacrifice it.
Yeah. Shield Sphere, just a strong card. I'm surprised to see it's at $5.35. I wonder what people are doing with it other than sacrificing it to Goblin Bombardment or Hecatomb, which is maybe what I'm doing.
Yeah. I have it in my Pattern of Rebirth deck.
Okay. Haven't seen that one yet. Next card, next uncommon from Alliances. It's not just going to be one uncommon that we're going to talk about. No. We have a group of uncommons that I want to talk about. And it's actually, we're not going to spend much time on this because we had an episode devoted to these commons. If you go back to episode 21 of the podcast, this is before we were known as the Old Mage MTG podcast. We were the Old Men Magic podcast. We did an episode on the pitch cards of Alliances. These are all uncommons in Alliances. It's a cycle, one for each color. Scars of the Veteran in white, Force of Will in blue, Contagion in black, Pyrokinesis in red, Bounty of the Hunt in green. These were revolutionary at the time, Alex. Revolutionary. I'm not going to read them. If you want to know more about them, check out episode 21. Although you already know about these cards. Everybody who plays Magic does know about these cards. I will say Force of Will, I mean, it was so powerful when it first came out. I'm kind of upset that they ever printed this card.
Me too. I know some people will disagree. If you're a blue mage, you probably disagree.
Being able to prevent your opponent from casting any spell they might want to cast is already an incredibly powerful ability. The counter spell is incredibly powerful.
Being able to do it at any time for no mana, whenever you want, without them expecting it, is kind of broken.
The thing about playing blue decks is you knew that you had to keep 2 blue open.
Yes.
Or when they came out with other counter spells, you at least had to keep 1 blue and 1 other colored mana open.
And that was the state of the game. As the opposing player, you knew that, like, you know, you had to play around that. You had to watch how much mana they're keeping open. You know, it was like a mind game.
It was terrible. It was terrible when Force of Will came out. It upended everything. The thing I probably dislike about it most is it really facilitated my least favorite type of deck, which is the type of deck that just kills you on turn 1 or turn 2. because you could play these decks where you kind of just empty out your hand, really. You play a lot of cards really fast, turn 1 or turn 2 to do something entirely broken and kill your opponent in turn 1 or turn 2. There's different decks that operate like this. As the opponent against those decks, you often had some form of removal.
But you have one chance.
That could deal with that. But you would have that one card in your hand.
Yeah, and one
Maybe
mana
that one.
to cast it, you know.
Now the Force of Will can deal with that.
Yeah.
Now
which is ironic, kind of, because probably the reason they developed it in the first place was to get around people killing you with first turn combos.
That's what I was gonna say. So you could turn that around and be like, okay, well, you just run Force of Will, and then you can Force of Will what they're trying to cast turn 1 or turn 2. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think they probably originally developed it because there were enough, you know, really early combos at that point that could kill you, and they're like, we kind of got to do something about this, or we have to ban like 7 cards.
Maybe there were. I don't know what fast kills there were that existed at this time, because we never played any of those type of decks. I was just playing.
And also, I don't know which of them were legal, because like we were talking about the other day, some of these things were temporarily illegal and then became legal again. Like, you know, Basalt Monolith combos, or you know, Channel Fireball was obviously a huge one back then, but they either restricted or banned. I don't know if they banned Channel. It might have been banned at one point back then, early on.
I think it was. I can't remember, but yeah, back and forth. I think it went back and forth.
So yeah, I don't know. I think maybe they were worried about, and there's obviously there's other early game combos, and when the Urza sets come out, like that just grows. So without Force of Will, you need them to really radically fix a lot of things, probably.
Yeah. So I really love this mechanic, the new idea that they introduced into Magic, where you could use, instead of tapping lands and using mana as a resource, or as we saw with Ice Age, using life as a resource with Necro, you could now use the other cards in your hand, dispose of them, use them as a resource to pay for other spells. I like that idea. They just made it's just too powerful in blue. It's too powerful as a counterspell, I think. And because of that, it's still powerful to this day.
Yeah.
Force of Will is still an absolute powerhouse, Alex.
Yeah.
To this day, Alex. You hear what I'm saying?
I hear you, brother.
To this day. You know what I'm saying, Alex? To this day. I'm waiting for to this day. To this day, Alex.
I was wondering why you were drawing that out.
You hear what I'm saying? I was waiting
to load.
I was waiting for that YouTube video to load. Anyway, Force was an absolute powerhouse to this day. That was Deontay Wilder doing this to this day. Current market price is $66.46. It's still pricey for the original alliances. Rating at 4.816 on Gather. Of course, it would be super high because it's a powerhouse to this day.
One of the highest ratings I've ever seen.
What was the highest rating we ever saw? We saw a card recently that was a 4.9 something. I think it might have been Necro. And I was like, that's the highest Gather rating I've ever seen for a card.
Yeah, it might have been Necro. I was trying to remember when I said that because I know we just saw one recently.
And Alliance's version, $66.46 market price currently, even though it's been reprinted not that long ago.
That was up to 100, wasn't it? Or am I making that up?
No, it got over 100 for a little while.
Yeah, okay.
Dominaria Master. This was also reprinted in Dominaria Master. But
yeah.
Look, even the Dominaria Master reprints almost $60.
Yeah, they've held their. I remember, and Double Masters too. This had like back-to-back reprints.
Yeah.
And these cards have all held their value. Look at that. Maybe I shouldn't say that because maybe there were more right when they came out, like from height, but they matched the value of the Alliances version.
Almost. And I don't understand that because the Alliances art is, I mean, these are all cool
that
arts,
one especially. I don't get that one. That one's not very good at all. The border's not good. It's
this one right here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that one shouldn't be as much as the Alliances version.
Yeah, what's going on here?
The other one, it's like different art, so I get that that's, you know, something maybe people want.
What are we talking about here? Actually, a really good option is the gold borders are pretty cool. Good option, the gold border. You can't play it in a tournament, but
It's pretty cheap.
pretty much everybody at a kitchen table accepts these old world championships.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at a kitchen table, everybody should accept anything. Just you
Yeah.
can deal with it. But even at like non-sanctioned, non-wizard sanctioned tournaments that like old school people put on, all the pre-modern groups, the big pre-modern groups, you show up at a big middle school paper tournament, pre-modern paper tournament, they all accept the gold border stuff. So it's a good option if you want to pick up some of the more expensive cards in the pre-modern format. Survival of the Fittest, Cradle, get them in the gold border. And they really still have that cool.
Maybe I should look at some gold border guys cradles. What do those cost?
Well,
$300.
they're cheaper, but they're so expensive that I still haven't even
200
really
bucks.
I haven't even looked really. Let me look that up real quick.
Yeah, let's look at that. I want to see that.
I think they're definitely more than 200. I would say probably, my guess is going to be 400 plus.
I would never pay that for that. I'd save up for the real one at that point.
So Guy's Cradle 760.
Oh God.
Oh, damn. This says 150.
Okay.
154.
All right.
That's way cheaper than I thought it would be.
It's respectable too, because you're like, you know, I paid $150 for this. Like,
yeah.
I'm not just trying to like proxy a guy's cradle.
Yes, I do make poor life decisions to play a children's card game. Can I join your tournament?
May I please play with you?
It looks kind of cool in the gold border too.
I kind of like how that looks, the way it matches the art.
Yeah. There you go. Force of Will, Powerhouse to this day. Contagion, Bounty of the Hunt, Pyrokinesis, Scars of the Veteran. Scars of the Veteran, I would say, still a disappointment to this day. To this day.
Unfortunately.
We're not going to move on to the rares. The rares we're leaving for next episode, but I do have a few other uncommons that I briefly want to mention. I'm going to call these honorable mention uncommons. Honorable mention. Primitive Justice, another card that I was fiddling around with in my Gorilla, my Ape deck back in the day. I like this guy. One colorless, one red sorcery, destroy target artifact. So we got a shatter right there, folks. But there's more. Destroy a target artifact for each one colorless, one red you pay in addition to the casting cost. Destroy a target artifact and gain one life for each one colorless, one green you pay in addition to the casting costs. So it's a shatter that can keep going. It's multiple shatters. A strictly better shatter. Is this the first instance of the kicker mechanic? I started to research that for roughly 30 seconds and then I got distracted and I didn't continue. But this is a kicker.
Yeah, this is the kicker, right?
I don't remember ever seeing this mechanic before. This might have been a mechanic that was introduced for the first time during Alliances. I have the Alliances MTG wiki pulled up here, so let me go up to the top.
No, I don't think I ever saw that before this set or before that card.
Themes and mechanics on the MTG wiki at the top. They usually have like themes and mechanics and stuff.
Yeah.
Mechanics that were introduced in the set. Themes alternate and additional costs. So we see that with the pitch cards. And there's some cumulative upkeep carried over from Ice Age. Cantrips, which is not new to Alliances, but it's carried over from Ice Age. Snow. There's no mention of kicker here.
Well, I think that falls under additional cost at this stage in the game, just because we're not calling it kicker.
Okay, let me click on additional cost. Yeah, alternate and additional cost. So the
Force of Will is an alternate cost.
Yeah, because it's not pay this casting cost plus this.
Yeah.
The total cost of a payment can be influenced by many effects and abilities, particularly when casting spells. It's primarily determined by the mana cost, but alternative costs, additional costs, and other cost increases or decreases can play a role. This is yeah,
you're in deep now.
Too in the weeds. Total cost equals mana cost or activation cost or alternate cost parentheses, includes quotes without paying mana cost plus additional cost plus miscellaneous cost increases minus miscellaneous cost decreases. Okay.
Seems reasonable.
Sure, that's great for the audio listeners.
It's much better if you can see what's going on. I feel like.
Yeah. Primitive justice. I mean,
Sorry, audio listeners.
that was awful for the people watching on YouTube also, but it was worse for the audio only listeners. Primitive justice, really good card, actually. Honorable
Yeah, I mean,
mention,
definitely,
uncommon.
replaces Shatter. Maybe you won't pay the additional cost, but one, no big deal. Shatter is a card that I feel like has gotten repeatedly like one-upped with like better versions of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Repeatedly.
Yeah.
I like the idea of this card too. It's like an out of control gorilla. Just can't stop breaking one artifact. He just goes total berserk, smashes up everything.
They'll probably make like squeaky sounds or something that annoy him.
The light ray of sun.
Yeah, the light. I'm looking at the thing by his head. It reminds me of like a honking goose, like right in his ear or something.
It creates glare, a ray of sunlight bouncing off the artifact into the gorilla's eye. He freaks out. He smashes.
Mm-hmm.
Primitive justice, another honorable mention, uncommon, is browse. I got to learn about these type of decks, but there's apparently
removes cards from your deck.
I have a really stupid. I don't understand why I can't figure this out. I'm like, am I not reading something correctly, or does my brain not work, or are both of those things true? Browse. Let me start by telling you what browse is. It's 2 colorless, 2 blue enchantment. Very cool Phil Foglio art, characteristic of Phil Foglio's style.
It's the cards, he's throwing the pages away, ripping them out.
Yeah. You can pay 2 colorless, 2 blue. Look at the top 5 cards of your library and put one of them into your hand. You remove the remaining 4 from the game. So I believe there are Browse Digger decks that people used to play back in the day, where they combo this with Soldevi Digger. And I want to find some of these decks and think about how they work. But I'm like, how does this combo with Soldevi Digger if you remove the 4 cards from your game from the game? Although now I think I just figured it out. Maybe you just have a few cards in your deck that you want to play multiple times. You browse, you keep the one you really want, you exile the other 4, you play that one you really want, and then you use the digger to put it back on the bottom of your deck. And because you're repeatedly exiling cards with browse, you get back to that card very quickly.
Oh yeah.
Is that how it works? You browse back to that card very quickly.
That makes sense. Then you could turn 4 of into an 8 of in your deck by putting them on the bottom of your library.
So I think I just figured it out right now. I was looking at this last night and I was like, well, how do you combine this with the digger? You remove 4 from the game. You can't use the digger to put those back. Because I swear the digger says from your graveyard. Maybe somebody will listen to this and they're like, oh, you're still wrong, you idiot. We'll figure that out soon if I'm wrong. But
Maybe. But that sounds right, though. That makes sense. It allows you to just recycle the card that you want.
And just get rid of the stuff that you don't need very quickly.
Because, I mean, tutoring effects are always useful. Like, if you can, come up with some combo to give yourself a useful tutoring chain, then it's good.
Yep. Next one. I like this a lot. And I actually thought, should I put this in my current commander deck called the Pump? My green, white, red commander deck, which is a very creature-focused deck. There's a lot of creatures. Why is it in the
honorable mentions, then?
What'd you say?
Why is it in the honorable mentions?
Well, because I'm not sure if I want to put it in my commander deck or not. I was saying, should I? I'm not sure. It's not incredibly powerful, but it's good and not unfairly costed. It's Inheritance. 1 white, enchantment, For 3 colorless, you can draw a card. Use this ability only when a creature is put into the graveyard from play, and only once for each creature put into the graveyard. So I have a creature heavy deck. It's red, green, white. It's an old frame commander deck. It's slow. Once I empty my hand and play out creatures, I'm just on the draw. There's not a lot of ways to generate card advantage or really to draw cards in old frame red, green, white. And this would give me something. I'm going to be playing a lot of creatures. They're going to be dying sometimes. If I have 3 colorless mana open, I can give myself some card draw. Now, that's an if, because I'm not always going to have 3 colorless mana open. It's not a cheap cost, but it's a cost you can still pay sometimes. I don't think it works on tokens, which that would make it much better if it worked on tokens.
Yeah, sure, why not? They go to the graveyard before they're removed from the game.
Use this ability only when a creature is put into the graveyard from play, and only once for each creature to put into the graveyard.
The token hits the graveyard and then like disintegrates.
That's true. We've talked about tokens and how they trigger graveyard effects, right?
Yeah.
Why do I feel like this doesn't work with token? Did I read?
Is there a
somewhere?
rata on it or something?
That's what I'm looking for right now. I'm pulling it up on Gatherer.
Yeah, I don't hate that card. You know, it's a little the 3's a little, but if it's a time when you have 3 mana open with nothing else to do in a commander game where you have to sit through 3 other people's turns, you know, then use it to draw the card. That's cool.
Yeah, and it's not a you know, this deck is not a competitive EDH deck. It is a CEDH deck, which on the old Mage MTG podcast stands for casual EDH. So it's a casual EDH deck. Rulings. If inheritance and a creature are each put into a graveyard from the battlefield at the same time, inheritance ability will trigger. That doesn't say anything about tokens.
The new wording, though, says dies not put into a graveyard, which should actually, I think, even be better.
Here's why I thought this. There is a comment. Now, is this person just wrong? Oh. Okay, no. I'm forgetting what the comment says. Tokens do hit the graveyard and then cease to exist. So yes, you can use this alongside Sacred Mesa or any other token producers. There we go.
But now it says dies instead of goes to the graveyard. I don't think that's a problem. I think that still applies to the tokens. I think it's even more expansive and broad. Like,
okay.
Now I have to think about that. I have to look up dies on MTG Wiki.
Oh, Jesus.
I've read about that before.
Whenever a creature dies, you may pay 3 colors. If you do, draw a card. Thank you. I think I will.
I'm trying to remember how this works. I think any creature that dies goes to the graveyard. Any creature that goes to the graveyard has not necessarily died.
Is that true?
Yeah. I mean, you could put it from your hand into the graveyard.
Is there a buried alive mechanic?
Dies and died. I don't know about that. Dies and died are descriptive terms that refer to when a creature or planeswalker goes to the graveyard from the battlefield. This can be caused by damage, destruction, other effects, and is often referred to by triggered abilities.
Okay, so you can go to the graveyard from the hand, and then you're not dying, you're going to the graveyard.
Correct, yeah. I mean, I was just joking when I said that mostly. But here's the key piece. Dies and died, replace the phrase is put into a graveyard from the battlefield.
Okay, Alex.
So it's a change in time from a previous way they phrased it.
Okay. That's inheritance. Not a bad card. Can be nice in sacrifice decks. Can be nice in Sacred Mesa decks.
You can blood pet you can sacrifice to give you 1 black mana. So
can be nice in blood pet decks.
With the blood pet, you'd only have to pay 2 to draw the card effectively.
Can be nice in Soldevny Adonate decks where you can sacrifice a card.
Yeah.
And maybe even generate more mana than the 3 you need to draw a card.
Yeah, it would.
Fuck yes. Okay. Any other uncommons, Alex? That's what I had. Do you have anything you want to talk about?
I don't think I had another uncommon.
Okay. That was our discussion of the common and uncommon alliances cards that were of interest to myself and to my co-host Alex. That's the end of segment 1 for today. We're going to move on to segment 2. We have a little bit of a finance discussion here on segment 2. We're going to talk about something new and something old. The something new is the cats and dogs secret lair. I wanted to talk about this new secret lair because there seems to be a ton of demand for it. And while they were bringing out this, or right before they brought out this secret lair with a ton of demand for it, they made a change to the way that they're printing these secret lairs, and it's really having a big effect on the market, it seems like. So this new secret lair is called Raining Cats and Dogs. It's a secret lair commander deck that became available for pre-order purchase from Wizards of the Coast on January 22nd, 2024. 6 hours later, it was no longer available. So it sold out with a quickness.
I like how that fact is now like internet,
yeah,
in stone in the internet.
My Twitter timeline, Alex, was full of despondent cat and dog enthusiasts. People were extremely upset. And why were they upset? Because this, I don't think it was the first one, because I think they did this when they first printed secret lairs. They print a set amount, right? So when it sold out, it sold out. But then the whole time you and I have been back in Magic since like late 2021, early 2022, the secret lairs, I think, have been print on demand. At least every one that I've looked at has been print on demand. So they would open up a sales window. And if you placed your order within that window, you would get your secret lair. I think that's how it's been working. And this is why people were like, it's been literally a year and I'm still waiting for my damn coin flip secret lair. Like, where is it, Wizards? Where is it? People would order them. They'd print them on demand. I don't know what was taking them so long to print them. There must have been a lot of demand, but still you would think they would get it out to people. I swear to God, some people waited a year. I don't think I'm making that up.
I know some of the secret lairs got delayed a lot. Yeah.
But anyways, they stopped this. They print a set amount. They put it up for sale. When all of those were sold, they ended the sale. This was over in 6 hours. Lots of people didn't get this secret lair. It made me think, what's going to happen to the price of Raining Cats and Dogs? Well, like I said, people on Twitter were freaking out. They were like, I needed this cat and dog secret lair. I didn't get it for its original sale price, which was something like $150, I think. I will now, priced at $149.99. It was a limited print run product available while supplies lasted. They only lasted 6 hours. People were like, I will now pay anything for this cat and dog secret lair. I will trade you my actual cat and my actual dog for the cat and dog secret lair. I need it. Prices were going for, these were going for like $400. Like a couple days after the sale ended and the first people started to get them in the mail, they immediately put them on eBay. They were selling for $400 on eBay, $350 on eBay, $400 on TCG Player. There's this fellow that I follow on Twitter. Let's see how long it takes for this to load.
I saw this. I read this when you posted. He was cautioning people. Is that the gist? Yeah.
Chai Style Gaming. That's Chai as in CHI, the first 3 letters in Chicago. He's based in Chicago, co-founder of Conviction MTG. He has an irrational love for dragons, and he says he is the #1 source of free content to help save you money on Magic. He is him. He is Chris. He's a content publisher in Chicago, Illinois. He joined Twitter in December 2017. Anyways, he started posting a lot about the Raining Cats and Dogs secret lair. And I'm not showing the actual post. You got to go back a few days to find it. But he started a thread and he was basically saying, like, calm down, people. Don't pay, He's not saying that you're going to be able to get it for $149.99, but he was cautioning people, like you said, against paying $400 for this cats and dogs Secretlair. He's like, this isn't much. I don't think it'll be much different than the situation we see with pre-sale prices. You and I, over the past couple years, as new sets have been coming out, we've occasionally been taking a look on MTG stocks, like before the sets are actually shipped to stores and opened, and seeing these pre-sale prices, and we're like, people are paying these exorbitant amounts of money for these cards, and then literally like a month or two later, you can get them for like 20% of the price they were just selling for pre-sale. Yeah. Like, just wait, people, just wait. He believed something similar would happen with the Secretlair. Don't pay $400. There's going to be a lot of demand for it. Yeah, a lot of people want it, but that's artificially inflated. Think of that as a pre-sale price. You're going to be able to find it for cheaper. January 26th, he tweeted, Raining Cats and Dogs weekend update. It touched 235 on TCG Player Friday and is back to 275 now. My working theory is more listings will come online as more stores will wait until product is on hand. However, we probably will not see a price lower than 235 to 250 again. Cheers. So that's his thought. Maybe it'll be around 250, 275. But that $400 that it was going for, like right away after everybody was despondent because they missed out, was crazy. People pumping the price. It's FOMO. Don't FOMO out on the cat and dog Secretlair. That's my major take home from this segment.
Oh, it says high performance deck. Oh,
I decided not to read that. I was originally going to pull
the
up.
Puns keep going too. I don't even want to. Oh,
I know. I was getting mad reading it, and I was like, I just don't want to read this out loud on the podcast, because then
we're better than that.
I'm gonna maybe insult somebody. Here's the thought I had. I'm just gonna say it out loud. Oh, it says it right here actually on TCG Player. They do all the puns here on TCG Player, so I don't have to go to the Secretlair website. I'm thinking a lot about AI generation. It's been a hot topic in many different arenas, especially in Magic as of late. Because one of the greatest things about Magic the Gathering is the art. And we're already seeing Wizards of the Coast use AI to generate art. And, people, enjoyers of the game, and artists are worrying about a future where Wizards of the Coast further takes advantage of their great artists by not just underpaying them, but not paying them at all, and just having AI troll through the catalog of all the art all the people have created over the years, and then just generate new things that aren't really totally new, because they take from stuff that people actually had to generate. I thought to myself, I don't know if somebody, this copy right here.
You think someone used AI to come up with a bunch of dog and cat puns?
I thought to myself, if they paid somebody to write this, maybe they should just stop paying somebody and just use AI to generate terrible puns for their copy, for their ad copy. I don't know. I don't want to be mean if somebody was paid to write this. That's great that you have a job. You're writing terrible puns for ad copy. But I had the thought to myself, Wizards should just, if this is what you're going to do, just do this with AI, whatever.
Right. Maybe they did already.
I don't want to get yelled at, but yeah, maybe that's why it's so bad. Did ChatGPT write this?
I mean, I bet someone went into ChatGPT and was like, give me dog and cat puns, and they got a list of like 40 dog and cat puns, or they just Googled it.
That might have happened.
You didn't even need the AI. You just Google dog and cat puns and come up with like 30 of them, and then like make a sentence with 10 of them in it.
Anyways, I don't want to be a jerk. There's nothing wrong with cat and dog puns. They're fine. It just kept going,
Yeah.
It was like the first sentence was cute, and then sentence number 2 came, and then sentence number 3 came, and it just kept going. None of them were really funny. But this is the price history on TCG Player. These are all the sales, so you see a ton of them sailing. Not sailing,
Did you
selling.
say sailing?
I did. It's sailing down in price. The 27th, that's what I meant when I said sailing. Every day, lots of them selling. But here we are, 250s to 270s, a lot of them. So if you just resisted for those first few days, if you just didn't FOMO out right at the beginning, you see it dropped fast. When did the first one sell on TCG Player? 22nd.
I mean, if we look at all these secret lairs, you know, the history of them, I'm not an expert on the price history of them, but the ones that have dramatically increased in price, I think, are the you know, pretty significant minority.
Yeah.
Some of them have appreciated a little bit, some of them have held steady, but almost all of them have, you know, if there was some kind of crazy FOMO at the beginning, they like settle down after that.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to bring all this up because I wondered to myself, what would happen to the price when Wizards went back to their limited print run model for the secret layers? Are these things going to go crazy? Well, the answer so far has been it went crazy for a day or two.
Yeah.
And then very rapidly dropped from $400 to 250 to 275 bucks. Interesting to see where it settles out. I don't know how many people there really are. I know people love cats and dogs. But how many people are in this world that want to play like a pre-con cat and dog themed commander deck for $300? A lot of money. And it's just one deck. And even if you love the cat and the dog.
Wait, is it a whole deck?
It's yes. So I didn't go into all that.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought it was just a normal secret lair of cat and dog cards.
It is I believe it's 100 card commander deck.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. 73 reprints, 22 land. Yeah.
Tokens and lands. I did see somebody else on my Twitter make a comment about how many of the cat and dog themed lands he's selling. So this is like a thing people are really going for. He's selling a lot of the lands for like $5 to $7 a piece.
Huh.
And actually, I could see that becoming a big thing because then you're not limited to this pre-con commander deck. You can make any deck you want and just buy 30 to 40 cat and dog lands. Those could be your lands for everything. Anyways, Secret Lair Commander Raining Cats and Dogs, Segment 2, MTG Finance, something new. Now we're going to go to Segment 2, MTG Finance, something old. I looked at the weekly winners article on MTG stocks from this past weekend. And for the first time in a while, I saw something that really caught my attention. It was Nantuko Shrine. I love it when I see some pre-modern cards getting some attention. I was going to say spiking in price. That's actually not true because there's so many pre-modern cards that I don't have yet. I would like them to remain cheap for quite a long time. But I do get excited when I see something from the pre-modern era gaining the interest of the Magic playing population in general. Nantuko Shrine. What is Nantuko Shrine? It's one colorless, 2 green enchantment. Whenever a player plays a spell, that player puts X 1/1 green scroll tokens into play, where X is the number of cards in all graveyards with the same name of that as that spell. It went up 249% last week. It was $1 something to $4.50 almost. What's the reason for that? Well, what did they say? What's this? A rare from Odyssey spiking? The Nantuko Shrine was released in October 2001, making it over 22 years old. The enchantment generates 1/1 scroll tokens. Whenever you cast a spell, you get to create X of them. X is the number of cards with the same name in all graveyards. About a week ago, you could still find the card for around $1.20. It wasn't very popular. One of the most driving factors in prices nowadays is casual commander or casual EDH, otherwise known as CEDH on the Old Mage MTG podcast. But enchantment that cares about spells with the same name usually doesn't cut it in a format where you can only play one of each. That is true. What's going on? Of course, there are cards like Persistent Petitioners or Rat Colony, but those are in different colors and aren't really worth it. But in Murders at Karlov Manor, a new card has arisen that can have any number of cards in a deck. Any number of cards in a deck. And Slime Against Humanity is also a green card, perfectly fitting the color identity. For 2 colors and a green, you get to create a Trampling Ooze token with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to 2 plus the number of oozes. And Slime Against Humanity cards you own in exile or in your graveyard. You can see with these
in
two
exile
cards,
or the graveyard. That's fucking
or
great.
in your graveyard. You can see with these 2 cards, you can quickly generate a whole lot of tokens. So the question remains, does this combo go in an ooze typal deck or a squirrel typal deck? I think the choice is clear. You always choose squirrel typo over typal. This is why I don't like typal. I say typo. Squirrel clan over ooze clan. I like the word clan better because I can say it. Because we can easily go with Ave, I don't know how to pronounce that, Progenitor Ooze or Chatterfang Squirrel General. I didn't know there was an Ooze commander. Anyway,
Ooze to me.
the point, that's incredible, Alex. That was incredible. You know who should get a job writing puns for Wizards of the Coast next time they have a goofy Secretlair?
Yeah.
Clip this, send it in. You need a job, send it in. This is your what do I want to say? Portfolio. Anyways, Nantuko Shrine. I thought this was exciting because I get excited when an old pre-modern era card spikes in price or becomes more interesting to the general public because a new card is printed. That gets me excited. That's the kind of thing I enjoy. So Nantuko Shrine getting some light shined on it due to a new card printed in Murders at Karlov Manor, a set I haven't looked at all, actually. I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet if people are excited about it. They don't seem to be super excited about it, just based on the Twitter feed. That's all I base things on. I don't play modern cards, haven't been playing modern cards yet. Not seeing a lot of chatter about it. That's it. There was one other card that I wanted to talk about in this Weekly Movers article. And this actually is a modern frame card. And it's a modern frame card that I saw very briefly at some point. It's kind of an older modern set, though. I think this set might have come out like 2007. It's a card from Future Sight, and I wanted to talk about it because when I first saw this card, I loved it. I thought this was great. And I think it's part of a cycle in Future Sight of similar cards. Mages of the Moon. So for anybody who doesn't know, this is 2 colorless, 1 red. It is a human wizard creature, 2/2. Non-basic lands are mountains. So this is a blood moon on a stick. What do they say?
I think it's Magus, which is hard for me to remember to say right.
What the hell? Are you serious to me? Are you being serious right now?
No. When I look it up and you can click on the little sound thing and the lady says it for you, she's like, Magus.
This is terrible. It's Magus.
Yes,
I've decided.
Magi, Mage, Magus.
Yes. It went up 40%. It's now available for $14.13. What do they say about Magus of the Moon? He said, I had the great opportunity to clickbait you here, but decided to take the high road. The Future Sight printing of Magus of the Moon shot to $30, but you could still buy other versions for far less. However, it did give me a way to talk about this card. Because while the spike has the hallmarks of a buyout, we do see other prints moving upward. Magus of the Moon is basically a blood moon on a creature, what I like to call a blood moon on a stick. It has the exact same ability, the exact same mana cost, but is a 2/2 human wizard instead of an enchantment. It's weaker. but it gives you, it's weaker because it's susceptible to more commonly played forms of removal. But it gives you the opportunity to play a Blood Moon, play a card with a Blood Moon effect on a bit of a budget. It's still a $15 card, but it's way cheaper than Blood Moon. I think any printing of Blood Moon.
And also it gives you the ability to put more than 4 of in the deck.
Oh, yes, definitely. Or more than 2 of if you're playing Commander.
Yeah.
You can have a Blood Moon and a Magus of the Moon. You can see this card it's much cheaper now than it has been at other points in its history.
Some roller coastery price history there.
It has been reprinted a few times. Iconic Masters, it's in the list. Time Spiral Remastered. The real reason I wanted to talk about this is because when I first saw this card, I clicked on Future Sight and I started just glancing through these cards. I'm not familiar with this set. I know a lot of people are. Tarmogoyf's in this, and this was an incredibly famous card that you and I never played with. But Magus of the Moon is not, it's not on its own in this set as a creature on a stick with an ability that's very similar to an old, expensive enchantment. Alex, you know that I have a great deal of love for Moat. And Moats are fucking $1,000 now because it's a Legends rare, but I also think that it's been targeted specifically during multiple buyouts. So there are definitely people out there that have massive Moat positions. And I don't know that I'll ever be able to buy another Moat. But I found Magus of the Moat. This is also in Commander. 2 colorless, 2 white, same casting cost as Moat. 0/3, so it can be bolted, which is unfortunate. They should have made it 0/4. That'd been sweet, but they didn't. Creatures without flying can't attack. You can get this bad boy.
Would be insane.
It would not be insane, Alex.
It would.
It's less powerful still than Moat. Talking to me about insane. What you talking about, buddy? Was Moat insane?
Yeah.
I love Moat. Yeah. I still do. I don't love it enough to spend almost $1,000 on it. I don't know how much you can get. I could get a beat up Moat for less than $1,000, but I still think 500 plus.
You don't want to beat up Moat though.
I don't either. I don't know what it is about
perfect, but I'm like you. I want it to be like a lightly played.
That's what I like. I don't want any perfect cards because I ain't about slabbing things up in plastic. It's not a museum piece. I still want to play it. But I want it to look like it hasn't been put through the washing machine.
Yeah.
I don't know why. But Magus of the Moat. And I wonder if there are other cards like this too. Are there other creatures in addition to Magus of the Moon, Magus of the Moat? Are there other Magi?
Yes.
That are out there? Are they also in Future Sight? Magus of the Jar. Oh shit, there's a ton of them. Magus of the Will, Magus of the Mind. Are they all Future Sight cards? Magus of the Mind says Commander 2017.
No. Reprint though, probably.
It's not. It says the only printing.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. So this is the segment. It went from a finance segment to a segment where Steve tries to discover the Magi in real time on episode 74.
I don't know what card that's copying. Maybe it's a new card, but yeah, the Magus of the Mind was not an iconic card that I recognized.
Magus of the Jar doesn't look like it is either. Magus of the Disc. This sounds like it's a Nevinyrral's Disc, maybe.
Yeah, that is.
Which isn't nearly as expensive, so it's not as exciting to me.
But it's 2/4. Look at that.
2/4, 2 colorless, 2 white in Time Spiral. Magus of the Disc comes into play tap, just like Nevinyrral's Disc. 1 colorless, tap, destroy artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. So anyways, Commander 2020 reprint. I think maybe there's just those two in Future Sight, Magus of the Moon, Magus of the Moat. But I was excited to see that, especially Magus of the Moat.
It's a good idea to put those, some of those old iconic cards onto a creature. There needs to be a Magus of the Abyss.
That's what I was just thinking. Is there something similar for Abyss? Magma Opus, Magus of the Disc, Magus of the Moat, Magus of the Moon, Magus of the Will. I haven't clicked on this one yet. Oh,
Well,
it's
there's a
black.
Magus of the Tabernacle, Magus of the Tabernacle.
Magus, Alex, we decided.
There's a Magus of the Scroll, Steve.
I
3
thought this,
tap, name a card, reveal a card at random from your hand. If it's a named card, deals 2 damage to target creature or player. You know what that is.
I didn't hear what you said. I was too excited by what I'm looking at right now.
No.
What did you say? Say that again.
Magus of the Scroll, 1 red, 1/1, tap and 3 colorless. Name a
Oh.
card, reveal a card at random from your hand. If it's the named card, deals 2 damage to target creature or player.
That's pretty cool. I thought at first you said Magus of the Squirrel.
Oh, that's cool. That'd be good too.
Magus of the Will. I saw that this was black. I thought maybe it was going to be an abyss on a stick, which actually wouldn't make sense now that I'm saying that out loud. Although it could be an abyss on a stick that just doesn't affect itself. You could write that little sentence in there at the end. 2 colorless, 1 black, 3/3 creature, human, wizard. Pay 2 colorless, 1 black, tap. Exile Magus of the Will. Until end of turn, you may play cards from your graveyard. If a card would be put into your graveyard from anywhere this turn, exile that card instead. So it's not at all like an abyss. Yeah, there's no version of the abyss.
What is
which
that
I guess
That's something though. They're copying something though, aren't they?
Yawgmoth's Will.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which I don't remember exactly what Yawgmoth's Will does, but it's something similar to this. Playing spells from your graveyard. It might just be pay 2 colorless, 1 black, sorcery, play cards from your graveyard this turn or some shit.
Yep.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, it's the same exact thing, but it's a 1 black, 2 colorless sorcery.
Okay. Anyways, just wanted to mention Magus of the Moon so I could then talk about Magus of the Moat and then talk about how much I love the Moat and how I can't afford a Moat right now, but I could buy a Magus of the Moat. So maybe when I start playing modern frame cards, I'll get myself a Magus of the Moat. That's the end of segment 2, which was a strange, convoluted finance segment. We talked about something old, something new. That brings us to the last segment of episode 74 today. It is the Old Mage MTG Commander Corner. I mentioned this earlier in the show. This is where Alex and I are building our 2024 Commander decks. I'm continuing my Atog build. I have Atog as my commander. I've added several of the Atogs, not all of the Atogs. I've added land. I've added my dual lands and my strip mine. Last week, I added strip mine in Soul Ring because some people are like, you shouldn't play land destruction or Soul Ring in Commander. Well, I'm doing both of those.
That triggered you. Now you're going to do it.
I did get triggered. I lashed out like a scared old white man does when they're faced with young people saying things that they don't agree with or they don't understand. Then I get angry. I lash out. I get triggered. I do what they tell me not to do. I should be better than that. But this is okay. It's just strip mine and soul ring. It's no big deal, really. Wasn't triggered. I just always like strip mine and soul. I feel like it's bad magic to not play any land destruction because there are too many broken lands.
Yeah, especially in a 100-card deck. Like, you better have something in there to deal with some land, right?
Yes, strip mine and wasteland. They keep broken cards in check. These things need to go in your deck.
So. Right. It's one thing if you're playing, a 60-card land destruction deck with 4 strip mines in it. That's one issue. But in
that's what I'm talking about.
100-card deck, like you need that to maybe get rid of the, I don't know what's banned or not in Commander as far as good lands, but one of their good lands that is not banned in Commander.
There's too many good lands that aren't banned in Commander.
Yeah.
Anyways, last week I added I can't remember what I added last week. I think I added some Atogs. I added rank. I might have added
Secretlair last week.
Okay.
I think.
Okay, whatever. Last week I added some of this shit right here. You get the point. This week, I was thinking to myself, okay, I still just got the bare bones of the deck. I still have some more Atogs to add. I'm not going to add them yet. But I started thinking, what do I want in this deck other than just Atogs? Well, you can't really do much with an Atog unless you give it things to eat. And they eat different things, but Atogs really primarily eat lands, artifacts, enchantments. I've added the Atogs. I now want to add some foodstuffs for the Atogs. I'm going to add some more enchantments, more artifacts. I really just wanted to say foodstuffs. That's the whole reason I'm doing what I'm doing today, because it gave me an excuse to say foodstuffs. I'm getting another mana rock. I'm typing artifact because I'm thinking artifact. I'm going to add another mana rock for my Atogs to eat Felwar Stone, because I feel like that's a good complement.
Oh yeah.
For your Soul Ring, I
color.
feel like it's very important to have in a 5-color deck, because my opponent's going to have different land that are colored, and it's going to provide me with some color land that I'm going to need to play one of my multicolored spells. I'm going to switch to the dark printing of Felwar Stone, because that's my favorite printing, and that's the one that I have.
Of course.
So I'm adding a mana rock in the form of Felwar Stone. I'm not going to add too many mana rocks. I don't want to overload with mana rocks and just be stuck with a ton of artifacts in the form of mana rocks that I can really only use to feed to my Atogs. And then I might not have my Atogs who eat artifacts out. So I'm just going to be stuck with a bunch of mana rocks and not be able to do anything else. So right now I'm at Soul Ring and Felwar Stone. And then I have a couple enchantments that I wanted to add. I'm going to add Animate Dead, because I think this is just generally a good card. And one benefit, well, one downside of the Atog is that it's 5 colors, so it's hard to cast. But one benefit of the Atog is that it's 5 colors, so you can play a 5-color good stuff deck. This is kind of why I'm putting the Rancor in, because it's a 1 casting cost, powerful enchantment. That's the kind of thing you want to put in if you're playing a 5-color good stuff deck. And Animate Dead, I think, is also a very good enchantment if you're playing a 5-color good stuff deck, because it's good stuff, especially in a 4-player format.
Yeah,
because I can take a creature from any graveyard.
Yeah, I like this in Commander.
It's
hard not to put this in a Commander deck.
So Animate Dead's going in, and it also has the benefit of being an enchantment, so I can feed it to several of my Atogs if I so choose. I can feed it to my Ortog. I can feed it to my Fantatog. I can feed it to my Thaumatog. In addition to Animate Dead, I was very proud of myself when I thought about this one. I'm adding another enchantment, Alex. Not Cover of Deadness. I don't know why I typed in Cover of Deadness. I'm very tired right now. Cover of Darkness. Cover of Deadness. What the hell am I thinking? Doesn't even make any sense, Alex. Cover of Darkness is another low casting cost enchantment. Only 1 colored mana. It is 1 colorless, 1 black. As Cover of Darkness comes into play, choose a creature type. Creatures of the chosen type have fear. The great thing about having this in an Atog deck is, one, you want your Atogs to have fear. That's great, because to get these guys big, you need to sacrifice a lot of shit. You need to blow up a lot of things on your board. You want them to be able to get through.
Yeah.
So you give them fear, then you eat everything up, have them get through. Doesn't matter if you just destroyed a bunch of your own stuff. You've dealt lethal. But the real genius of bringing in Cover of Darkness in an Atog deck is ain't nobody else going to be playing Atogs, Alex. So you name creature type Atog, and only you're benefiting from Cover of Darkness.
Yeah.
I'm very excited
Cover of Darkness. It's great. I've been messing around with that in a deck or two. Yeah.
I am so excited to Cover of Darkness Atogs. That's it. That's the end. That's all I got for my portion of today's Old Mage MTG Commander Corner. I need to sit down and think a little bit harder about this deck. What I really need to decide is roughly how many cards of each card type I want in the deck. How many creatures do I want in this deck? How many lands do I want? How many artifacts do I have? Who do I want? How many enchantments do I want? How many instant sorceries do I want? And then I can try to pick the best cards from the artifacts and enchantments categories to play in a 5-color good stuff deck and also to feed to my Atogs. That's what I'm thinking. I don't want to just fill it up with a bunch of enchantments because then I'm not paying attention. I'll get close to my 100 card limit and I'll be like, I don't have any removal. I don't have my lightning bolts, my swords to plowshares, all my maybe some utility cards I want to play. Maybe I left out some important staples because I'm just thinking about enchantments and artifacts to feed to the Atog. I gotta map out how many of each card type I want to add. Anyways. So the listeners of the podcast will know that last episode, Alex still hadn't chosen his commander, but he gave me a list of, I think, 5 different commanders. They were all possibilities for his 2024 commander deck. I don't know if you've chosen or not.
Wait, first
you have to use the restroom.
No.
Okay.
Before we go to my deck, I have a suggestion or remark for your deck. Maybe you don't like this, but have you thought about using Crystal Vein in here?
I haven't thought about it, but that's not bad at all.
Because it'll help, it'll help you with your commander. And I don't know how many times you anticipate having to cast your commander, but could give you some mana fixing for
you know what?
And maybe 1 or 2 other multi-casting cost. No, that's not the card I meant.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. No,
Crystal,
I know what you're talking about.
God damn it. Crystal, there's one, okay. It taps and it gives you a mana
one of each color. I know.
Yeah.
Originally I thought, he's suggesting Crystal Vein because I can
Quarry.
I thought, you're suggesting Crystal Vein because I can sacrifice it for a little bit of ramp, but then also have an Atog eat it from the graveyard. And I was like, that doesn't work.
No.
Yeah, and I was like,
Quarry.
No, he means that one that you can tap for one colorless, or sorry, one of each colored mana. You like filter 5 through it and it spits out 5 colors. And I couldn't remember what it was called. And now you've told me for the 17th time that it's called Crystal Quarry. And I'm pulling up Crystal Quarry. And I do have one of these. I bought one. Oh, and I see it's plummeted in price. I probably bought one right around here where it was $11. And now it's $2.38. I have thought about this. And
you don't have to decide now or anything. I just thought it might go well with your Atog.
There's no reason for me to not. Well, there is a reason for me to not play it. Because let's say I don't have 5 mana out yet, then it's hurting me potentially.
Yeah. I mean, you can still tap it for a colorless, but it's not a good land to have on turn 1.
I have thought about this briefly, and what it's going to come down to is how many non-basic lands I want to have in my deck and whether or not this makes the cut.
Yeah.
But it's a definitely, as somebody who plays CEDH, casual EDH on the old Mage MTG podcast, it's definitely it seems to me like something that would be really good in any 5-color deck. So I've never played it though. Maybe people who have played it find that it doesn't perform that well, or as well as they expected it to perform. But
yeah,
I'm
not sure how I feel about it, but
I'm definitely considering it. I'm considering it. It's under consideration. That's where we're at.
Okay, I just wanted to suggest that for you.
Crystal Quarry. Thank you for the suggestion.
Anticlimactically for my deck, I have no cards to add, but I will pare down my commanders.
Okay. Last week we had 5. Now you have 4?
2.
Okay. Let me guess 1. Urtai.
Yes.
Alex is considering Urtai the Corrupted. Is that what it was?
Yes. Yes. You said it and now it made me forget. Yes.
Not Wizard Adept. I think Wizard Adept might be just a blue creature.
I believe it's the Corrupted.
Urtai the Corrupted, a legendary wizard from Plane Shift. 2 colors, 1 white, 1 black, 1 blue. Great color combination.
Why aren't you pulling up my deck, Steve?
What'd you say?
Why aren't you pulling up my deck, Steve?
Oh, you don't have one yet.
Oh, I thought you put my 5 commanders, my temporary commanders into the deck.
No.
No.
I don't know. I guess I could make a deck like that. When you make a commander deck on Moxfield, do you have to start by picking something as your commander?
Oh.
I think you might.
It doesn't matter. I was just joking.
New deck. New deck. Name Alex. 2024. You don't have no dang commander yet. Format commander. Commander EDH. Folder. Decks discussed on the podcast. Or did I have a that goes in the Commander Alex folder? Create. I can't remember if it asked me for a commander. No, it doesn't. Okay. Urtai the Corrupted. There you go. Urtai's there. Oh, okay. So it defaulted it into the commander slot, but we can change that.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know that it did. It just says creatures 1. Okay. Alex 24, he don't have no dang commander yet. Urtai is option number 1. What's option number 2?
I think Seton. How do you say his name?
What is the
Seton.
what is the it's a vegan food. It's like a meat substitute.
Satan. Yeah. S-E.
This is pronounced like that.
Okay.
Satan, Croson Protector.
Figure out how that pronounced, and then I'm good.
So it's decision that lies between Esper deck. That's what the kids call white, blue, black decks. In a mono green with Satan, Croson Protector, which would be a Druidist focused deck. And now I'm kind of upset because didn't I say earlier in the podcast how I had a great idea for you for something and then I forgot what it was?
Yeah.
I had a great idea earlier today too for a card for you to run if you chose this as your commander, and I also forgot what that was. I forgot.
That's all right, Steve.
But it might come back to me in one of these episodes as we build this deck out.
I'm sure it will.
It might even come back to me after I get a good night's sleep, you know.
Yeah. Perhaps you will dream of it.
It's happened before. It wouldn't be the first time I dreamed about Magic the Gathering cards, although usually if I have a dream about Magic the Gathering cards, I'm dreaming about like finding them in a thrift store or something. I have dreams about finding the things I collect in like thrift stores. And it never happens. But one day it might. There was a recent auction posted. It was a Goodwill auction of Magic. It was of Magic the Gathering cards. And it got reposted by a ton of people. I retweeted it myself. And the auction ended up ending with a final price of like well over $3,000. And it was a bunch of stuff that wasn't that great, but with 4 plateaus. And one of the plateaus was a summer plateau, a summer Magic plateau.
Oh.
And people were like, how does this even end up at Goodwill? So there's some question about whether it's not even real, whether it's even real, because I looked at if you look at all the cards, they laid them out. They laid them out. It was like, it wasn't like 4 plateaus and then like a lot of mid-range or mid-price stuff. It was like 4 plateaus and a lot of really cheap stuff. So it was like it would have been a weird collection. It would have been like me just buying a bunch of like $1 to $2 pre-modern commons and stuff, and then just also having like 3 plateaus, one of which and a summer Magic plateau, which would be weird. So I don't know who bought it. Curious to see if it's real. But then my second question is, we know dual lands are highly counterfeited, but are summer plateaus?
Yeah, that seems weird to me that someone would like counterfeit a summer dual land and then also only have like one of them out of the 4. Like that's a little bit weird. And then it makes me wonder if, like the people cataloging it and taking pictures of it at Goodwill, like did a good job. Maybe they knew the dual lands were something, but skipped over some of the other stuff, and that's why there was like a discrepancy. The whole way
Yeah, I
they do
guess
their cards is I mean, no one really knows. It's
they had multiple photos, and each photo had a bunch of cards laid out. And I guess I assumed that was all the cards, but I didn't read any of the text to see if there were more cards that just weren't pictured in the photos.
like
I
I
brought
assume at Goodwill someone there is using like an app to like scan things at this point, you know? Uh
yeah.
but it also might vary by location, I don't think they're all probably on the same page. But I've browsed through their online listings and it's very sketchy. It's like it seems
Yeah.
like a lot of things that are made to look like they might be more valuable than they are. So I don't know what my takeaway is. They're like people working there obviously have some idea that the cards can be worth money, right? Like
Yeah, they obviously know to check the magic cards when they come in.
yeah, and they know something about the way they pose them for the photo and putting some of them at the front to make them look better. Like
The
so
dual lands were lined up uh in a row of 4 all by themselves.
yeah.
And then the other photos had all the other cards in. So they knew the dual lands were something. They know, I mean, they know the dual lands are special. I'm sure they've sold so many. Uh, I brought that up because, I say I dream about going to thrift stores and stuff. You, you can't you can't stumble upon Magic the Gathering cards and Goodwills anymore. It's
No.
I think they have a rule where it's like if Magic cards come here, we bring them to some person
Yeah, I
near
think they
post.
send them in. They have like 2 tiers of stuff. They have like in-house sorted stuff, and they have one that they like send to a, you know, regional place for to put online for auctioning or something.
Because I was an avid Goodwiller for many years when I was a postdoc. I had a few Goodwills that I would hit up near the teaching hospital in the med school, and one near the university that I was working at, for books, because I would find a lot of really good books there. I built myself like a really fun little personal library, just picking up a lot of cool books for 50 cents a piece at Goodwill. But every time I walked into Goodwill, I would also go to the toy aisle and just see if there were magic cards. I wasn't even playing at this time, but I was always like, maybe I'll find a box of magic cards. That'd be sweet. I never saw a single magic card, not a single magic card, which they had to have been coming in. So that just made me think they must have a rule where like magic card comes in, these go somewhere else,
Mm.
because
No, I think that's how it
yeah,
works.
yeah, it was disappointing. Anyways, Air
You need to
Tire
get
Satan.
jobs at the Goodwill sorting center where they sort the magic cards.
Yeah. Oh, this ain't shit. Or this is counterfeit. I'll be
Yeah.
sitting there with my jewel dupe, be like, I don't see a green dot. Might as well just sell this to me for 50 cents. I would never do that. Goodwill is a
I would,
charity, Alex. Why would you even think of something like that? Anyways, I think that's it. I think that's the end of episode 74 of the Old Mage MTG podcast. Thank you for listening for this long. If anybody's still listening, we really appreciate your support. If you haven't already, give us a like, subscribe to the channel. If you prefer audio only formats, you can find us also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, in addition to YouTube. Alex, before we go, do you have anything you want to say to listeners?
go Niners.
Go Niners. Oh yeah, Super Bowl's coming up. Alex is a big Niners fan. He got his whole outfit on. I'm a big Swifty fan. That's what I'm most excited for. I hope she makes it to the game. My fingers are
49ers versus
crossed.
Taylor Swift.
I think she has to travel from Japan to Vegas to make it there overnight. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I'm hoping. I have a dream that she's going to be playing at the Super Bowl halftime show unannounced. I think it's supposed to be Usher. We had this conversation before. I didn't actually look that up. Somebody said Usher, but it may or may not be Usher. I think Usher or whoever else is playing that day is going to come out
Usher and
during
Steve Urkel.
halftime. And then they're all going to
Boy.
look up. They're going to look up into the sky. Taylor's going to parachute down from her private jet, land on the 50-yard line, play all her biggest hits. Crowd's going to go crazy. Then Travis Kelce is going to win the Super Bowl by
Almost certainly.
catching a lateral pass. Somebody's going to almost sack Mahomes. Travis Kelce is going to run behind Mahomes. Mahomes going to lateral it to Kelce. Then Kelce is going to throw the ball as hard as he can up into the air, all the way to the end zone, and then he's going to run. He's going to get so much air on it that he's going to run, and he's going to catch his own pass for a touchdown to win the Super Bowl. Taylor's going to come out. She's going to jump into his arms. They're going to kiss. Everything's going to fade out. That's going to be the end of the Super Bowl. It's going to be the best Super Bowl we've ever experienced.
I think someone has to tip it probably if he's going to throw the pass to himself. I think someone has to hit it first. Otherwise, he just can't. I don't think he can just throw it to himself, probably.
Here's what's going to happen. He's going to launch it up into the air. He's going to sprint all the way to the end zone. An opposing player.
Perhaps a bird.
I don't know who are they playing? An opposing player on the. Who are they playing?
The Niners.
San Francisco's. Jeez, you're wearing the hat. An opposing player on the 49ers is going to catch the ball for an interception in the end zone. Travis Kelce's going to truck him, cause a fumble, and then he's going to catch the fumble in the end zone. Would that be a touchdown or a safety?
Now we're getting tricky because if he doesn't, if he hits him, is it a catch or not?
At a minimum, it's a safety.
If it's a catch, then it's just a touchdown. Who's on offense? Are the Chiefs on offense?
Chiefs are on offense.
Okay.
At a minimum, it's a safety, right? It's either a touchdown or a safety.
I think the second a defensive player makes a successful catch, if someone intercepts it, then it's just a touchback automatically at that point. There's no chance that he will be able to fumble it. It'll just like occur.
No, but he's catching it in the end zone. He catches it in the end zone and he starts to run it back.
Okay.
And he comes out of the end zone, and on the 1 yard line, Kelce trucks him.
Yeah.
Causes a fumble, and then he catches in the end zone.
Sure.
That's at least a safety. So let's say they're down 1 point when all this happens. That's what's going to happen. Anyways, I'm done with the episode. I've talked too much already.
My God, I hope you're wrong.
My throat hurts. I'll see you all next week for episode 75.
Good night.
Okay.